25-year-old Katrina Purdy is suing her former employers, taxi company owners Jack and Mike Pulowski, for taxi cab rent and lost wages.
Yeah, this is case number 299 on the calendar in the matter of Purdy versus Pulowski. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat, please.
You own a cab company?
Yes.
For how long?
For 3 years.
How many cabs do you have?
About 8.
You own them?
Yes.
And I gather what you do is you lease those cabs out on a weekly basis to people who want to drive them. They give you part of the money, and that's how you make your living, and that's how the drivers make their living.
Yes.
Is that right?
Exactly.
Okay. How much do you charge per week to lease one of your cabs?
It's $400.
And how much of what the cab driver earns do you keep? What percentage?
I don't keep any percent, just $400 a week and...
Flat. And
Flat,
they can
exactly.
drive the cab as much as they want.
Correct.
They can go 24/7 if they want to, as long as they can keep awake.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yep, that's right.
And they pay for and you pay for the maintenance, etc., on the cab.
Yes.
Do you get the same cab each time?
Yes, they keep the car, the same car
keep
all
it?
the time.
Okay. When did Miss Purdy begin to lease her cab from you?
That was on July.
Give me the exact date, sir.
I can't remember exact day. That was...
Well, you should have records. Don't you? You have a business. You have records. You have a business. So when, for the first time, did Miss Purdy lease a cab from you?
It was about July 15th.
Is that the same kind of about 8 cabs? Or was it July 15th?
July 15th.
Is that correct?
Yeah, I have July 22nd, Your Honor.
You have July 22nd was the first time that you rented a cab?
Yes.
Let me see your records to show me July 15th.
I didn't bring any records about that.
Well, where'd you think you were coming today? To a tea dance?
No.
July 22nd was the first time you leased the cab?
Yes.
You gave him $400.
Yes, I did.
For how many weeks did you lease the cab?
I leased it for 3 weeks.
Okay. And was July 22nd a Monday?
That was a Friday, Your Honor.
When did you pay him the $400? Each Friday?
Every Friday, yes.
Is that correct, sir?
Yes, that's correct.
And the Friday was for the following week, is that right?
Yes.
So you were paid $400 on a Friday, and she was supposed to keep it the following week. However, Miss Purdy says that when she paid you the last $400, which is on what date?
August 13th, Your Honor.
You told her that she couldn't keep the cab. Is that right?
No, that's not right.
So you let her keep the cab that week?
No, because I fired her that day.
Well, when you fired her, did you tell her she couldn't keep the cab?
Yes.
Well, that's what I just said. What are you
But that
saying no for?
$400 wasn't for the following week.
Well, that's what you just said. You said the Friday you got paid, and you allowed them to keep the cab for the following week.
That $400 was exchanged for her check, which she gave me for a security deposit.
Explain that to me, sir. She gave you a check for security
yes,
deposit.
First,
Hold
when
on
she
a
started
second.
working.
She gave you a check for security deposit. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you held on to the check?
First, I get the check. I tried to cash it and it was bad check. So I just gave her the check back and I took $400 instead. It was exactly the same amount of $400.
See, this is all a question of timing, Miss Purdy.
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you understand?
Yes.
What I gather happened is, now it's all coming together, Bird. Trust me, I'm going to explain this to you because I know if you understand that I've made myself clear, and I like to make myself clear. Miss Purdy gave him a total of $1,200. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
She only had the cab for 2 weeks. Is that right?
It was 3 weeks.
You used the cab for 3 weeks?
Yes.
Well, if you used the cab for 3 weeks and you gave him $1,200, what are you complaining about?
The $400 was for deposit for a hold on the check.
No. What I'm asking you, Miss Purdy, is as follows. You say you gave him $1,200.
I gave him $400 every week.
You say you gave him a total of $1,200. All the money that you gave him, for whatever reason, was $1,200.
Well, then that doesn't include the $400. You're right.
Okay, so you gave him $1,600.
Yes, Your Honor.
You gave him $1,600, but you only used the cab for 3 weeks.
Yes, Your Honor.
Got it?
I got it.
The last Friday that she leased the cab, she hands him cash, $400. You take the $400, correct?
Yes, correct.
And then you say to her, you're fired.
No, but...
Shh, just a second.
Okay.
You're fired, and I'm keeping this $400 for the security deposit check because you scratched the car. You damaged the car, which is what the security deposit was for. Is that right, sir?
That's right.
Right. That's simple. Don't shake your head no. That's what happened, because if he had said to her, you were doing the talking, or was he doing the talking?
But I gave
Who
her
was
the check
doing the
back.
talking?
We were together.
Who was talking to her?
I was talking, he was talking.
All I want to know is, before she handed you the $400, did you say to her, we're firing you today?
No,
Of course not. So you got the cash first.
because I didn't trust her with the check.
You following me, sir? You took her $400 because you were afraid that if you told her she was fired, she wouldn't give you the $400.
No, that's not the reason. I was afraid that the check is bad, like the first one.
Just a second. She didn't give you a check. She was giving you cash.
Yes, but she gave me check first.
I
Because she didn't
understand.
have any money,
Listen.
so she gave me a check.
Listen to me, sir. If you would have said to her, I'm firing you today, you owe me money for scratching the car. I don't know how much that's going to be yet, but you owe me money. We'll have to straighten that out. Do you think she would have given you the $400?
Probably not.
Right. And she was not giving you the $400 for the security deposit. She wasn't. Her intention was giving you the $400 to use the cab for the next week, correct?
Yes.
Of course. Your intention was to take the $400 to hold it so that in case you had damage to the car, which you claim you had, you would have money to fix it. Correct?
But remember about the check. I gave her back $400 in check.
Listen
That was
to me
just exchange.
carefully, sir. Don't play slick with me. I know that what you've got fixed in your own mind is you decided to take that moment, August 13th, that's the day you selected to take the money for the bad check. Not the week before, not in the middle of the following week. You said, this is the time I'm going to take the money for the bad check, right?
Yes.
And I'm telling you, you can't do that.
Just
Anything you want to say to me?
Me?
You.
No, I'm just a witness. I'm supposed
You're
to
a
take-
witness to what?
to her accident.
She had an accident with the car. This is not the issue. The issue is who's going to be a plaintiff and who's going to be a defendant. He has every right to fire her. What he did was play it slick. What he did was she said, I want to lease the cab for the next week. Here's my $400. He didn't say to her, no, I'm sorry, we're not leasing. Put your hand down. We're not leasing you this cab for another week because we don't like the way you drive. We don't like the way you take care of our property. We're firing you. But we have your bad check here. And you have to make good on the damage that you did to our car because that's our contract. And she says, sue me. That way, he would stand over here and she would stand over here. Instead, he resorted to self-help. He says, I'm going to be slick. I'm going to take her money. I'm going to be very quiet. I'm not telling her we're firing her today. I'm going to take her money, and then she's going to have to come after me for the money. Do we understand each other?
Well, she never said she had an accident, but I saw her have an accident.
I don't care whether she had an accident. I don't care if she ended up with a pole up the
Well, she
tailpipe of a
almost
car.
did. She
Listen
almost
to
did.
me, sir. All I'm saying is they have a choice. Their choice is to pursue her for the money that they outlaid to fix the car, or they can play it slick by taking her $400 and saying, now you're fired, now I have the money. You follow me?
I hear everything. I'm right here.
Are you understand it?
I understand it.
Slick doesn't understand it either. They can
I
either be a
would've- I would've-
plaintiff.
I would've fired
they
her.
could-
I would've fired
They
her.
had every right to fire her. You're not hearing it.
I'm hearing it.
No, you're not hearing it. They
I'm
had
hearing it.
every right to fire her as soon as she had an accident.
All of
I'm
the
speaking.
incidents-
Do you hear my mouth moving?
I see it.
Good. They had every right to fire her. They were derelict if they didn't fire her, if they have a cab company and she had an accident. What I'm saying is they had no right.
There was a lot more than an accident.
Listen
There was
to-
a lot more.
Do you?
Excuse me.
Is there something wrong with you?
Is there something wrong with me?
Yes. Are you just try paying attention? They had every right and an obligation to fire her.
That's what I
They
would've
had
done.
no right to take her $400 on the day that they intended to fire her, because her intention in giving them the $400 was to allow her to use the cab for the following week. And they took that money under false pretenses. Do you understand? Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $400. That's all.
Rachel Cooper says she was assaulted during a custody exchange by her daughter's great aunt, Felicia Lisa West. Felicia claims Rachel is an unfit mother and is countersuing also for assault.
Miss Cooper,
Yes.
Miss West is the paternal aunt of your baby.
Yes.
Who's the father of your baby?
He's sitting right there.
What's your name?
Thomas Robinson.
How old are you?
I'm 24.
Is this your only child?
Yes.
And since he's sitting over there, I assume you're not together.
No.
How old is your baby?
She's 6 months.
You have a drug problem?
No, I don't.
Have you used drugs?
Yeah, before I had my baby.
Have you used drugs after she was born?
No. I drank a little bit, but...
What was your drink of choice?
Remy.
Remy?
Yes. Remy Martin, cognac.
It's pretty heavy stuff, isn't it?
I guess, for my age.
Who do you live with?
I live with my mom now.
Who else lives with your mother?
My dad.
Your lawsuit alleges that Miss West was babysitting for your daughter. You went to get her. Miss West refused to give her to you, and she assaulted you. Miss West says that when you came to pick up your daughter, you had been drinking. She felt that the child was at risk. She refused to give you the child. She says that you, in fact, assaulted her. So, when did Miss West start to babysit for your daughter?
This was January 2nd. This was the first time she has ever babysitted for me.
How old was your daughter at that time?
She was born in November, so about 1.5 months.
And why was Miss West babysitting for your daughter?
Because I figured the father's family never sees a baby, so I figured, let me give them a call so they could see her. So, in turn, they came to pick me up, and she decided to watch the baby. She offered to take care of the baby.
All right. She said what to you?
She said, oh, I could watch her for you. You could go out and have a good time.
And did you do that?
Yes.
Second?
Yes.
What time?
This was probably in the evening around 8 o'clock, 8 o'clock.
Good. When did you come back?
I came back the next day.
Where did you go that night?
I was with her niece, Katie, and Lisa's daughter, and some of her nieces.
Where did you sleep that night?
At her sister's house.
Okay, so the next day you came back on January the 3rd.
Yes.
What time?
I came back around 10 o'clock in the morning.
Go ahead.
So I went over there, was with my baby for that whole day.
Was Miss West at home?
Yes, she was at home.
Okay, keep going.
So, anyways, that same day, she ends up telling me that, it's time for me to go home. I said, okay. She says, but you could leave your baby here and I could watch her for you overnight. I said, oh, no, that's okay. I could go home. She said, are you sure you're going to be able to take care of the baby because you've been drinking? I said, of course I'll be able to take care of my baby. I'm fine.
Had you been drinking on the 3rd?
Yes, I was drinking a little bit. It was New Year's, so, yeah.
No, the 3rd is not New Year's.
Yeah.
New Year's is December 31st. The 3rd is not New Year's. On the 3rd of January, had you been drinking?
Yes.
What were you drinking? The Remy?
Yeah.
And then you wanted to take the baby home?
Yes, so.
And she said no.
She didn't want me to take my baby home. I said, well, can I stay here? She didn't want me to stay at her house. She's like, oh, I'll take care of her. She's like, don't worry about it. Go home and relax. She's like, because, you're a new mom and you do need a break, and Thomas is nowhere around to be found. He hasn't called or
keep going.
anything.
Come on, move it, move it.
So anyway, so I go home. She drops me off at home. My mom asks, where's the baby? So I said, oh, Lisa's taking care of her. She says, oh, really? So I said, would you like to call her? So she calls her, and Lisa gets on the phone and said, oh, well, do you want me to call CPS? And there's no reason to involve CPS for anything. I don't know why she said that. So we go pick up my daughter, and she doesn't know that I'm coming to pick up my daughter. I go in the house, and when I go in her bedroom, she's shocked to see me.
Who let you in?
Her husband let me in. So when I busted in the room, she was sitting with my baby. My baby was stuffed in her chest. She had a pillow behind her back, and she was sitting cross-legged. She said, what are you doing here? I said, give me my baby, Lisa. She snatched the baby. She said, no. I said, what do you mean? I can't have my baby? She said, no, do you want me to call CPS? I said, for what? Why are you going to call CPS for? So she refuses to give me my daughter. So I have to call my mom to tell my mom to come in the house saying she's not giving me my baby. So then she decides.
How did you get there?
My mom gave me a ride.
You mean your mother gave you a ride and then just dropped you off?
No, she was waiting outside for me.
Okay, go ahead.
So then she decides finally to give me my daughter. So my mom comes in the house, and I'm like, Mom, she's not letting me leave with my baby. She says, oh, no, don't let them leave. She was telling Katie and everybody in the house, don't let her leave. Don't let her leave. So they block all possible entries so me and my mom cannot get out with my daughter. My baby started crying. My mom was holding the baby. So my mom said, oh, do you have a bottle so I could feed my granddaughter? Lisa's like, no, let me feed her. She tries to go to my mom and tries to tear my baby out of my mom's arms. So that's when I gave me to her. I'm like, what are you doing? No. So she comes back to me, grabs me by my jacket, and slams me all the way against the wall. Then she grabs me and slams me all the way down on the bathroom floor and starts choking me. It took 3 people to try to get her off of me. Her husband was in the kitchen, finally decides to get up to come get her off of me. And then she's still trying to fight. She's still trying to come attack me. And then when the police comes, she tells them that I attacked her, which was wrong.
Okay, Miss West, now I'll hear you.
Well, it started January the 1st. My niece and my daughter comes home with Rachel. My niece Katie tells me that Rachel called my daughter Caroline to pick her up from this hotel on West MacArthur.
Katie, stand up. Tell me what you saw when you got to the hotel.
Okay, Rachel was drinking with some guy, and the baby was just crying, and it just seemed like the
Well,
baby...
how did you get, who had you heard from that caused you to go to the hotel?
My cousin.
Who were you in the hotel with?
I was with my friend. He was helping
What's
me
his
with the
name?
baby. His name is Jose.
And what were you drinking with Jose?
I'm drinking some Remy.
Go ahead.
Anyway, I took the baby from Rachel because she was crying. I rubbed her stomach. It seemed like she had colic. And I said, Rachel, do you burp your baby after you feed her? Rachel said, no, this is my first child. I really don't know what I'm doing. I said, you know what, Rachel, this don't make no sense. Give me this baby. Me and my cousins take the baby. We go get the baby some medication. Rachel is not even coherent enough to give her baby the medication.
Your Honor.
Put your hands down. I don't think you're adorable. I don't think you're cute. I'm going to hear from your mother because, quite frankly, unless your mother is totally together, I'm calling CPS on you. You understand that?
Yes.
You understand why?
Why?
Remy. Stand up. Who has legal custody of this child?
Rachel.
Well, that better change. That better change. She is in no position to have legal custody of this child. And unless somebody who's responsible has custody of this child, Child Protective Services is going to take the child and give the child to a stranger. Maybe to Miss West. Who knows? Your daughter is acting irresponsibly. Don't you understand that?
I do understand, but I do not understand the reason why Miss West had to assault her. That I don't understand.
Listen to me. I don't understand why you would allow your daughter, who was intoxicated, which she clearly was on the 3rd of January, to go back to Miss West's house and tell her to go inside and take the baby. If you felt as if you didn't want Miss West and you wanted the baby to come home with you, then you go inside, and maybe you could have had a civilized discussion with Miss West. Instead, you send her inside, and she has no brain. I mean, didn't you hear what she said? This lady is telling me the truth. She went to a motel, found your daughter in a motel with your granddaughter crying, and she's sitting with some jerk drinking Remy.
No, Your Honor, my daughter was crying because I didn't know what was going on. I was holding my baby, Your Honor.
Because you didn't know that
Just a second. Just a second. You didn't know what year it was,
I was
madam.
burping my daughter, Your Honor.
What were you doing in a motel with a guy drinking Remy?
Because I was expecting to see if the father would call me on New Year's to come by. That's why I got the hotel room. I was with my friend. He was helping me take care of my baby instead of the father.
He was helping you by sitting with you in a motel drinking?
He was holding her, helping me, trying to calm her down too, Your Honor.
What's your last name?
Jimenez.
Miss Jimenez, do you get it? She is incapable of taking care of a child.
I'm not incapable.
Incapable.
My daughter's well taken care of.
She has no judgment. Zero judgment. And this baby is going to get hurt. Did you just hear what she said to me, Miss Jimenez? She said she took a motel room, hoping that the baby's father would call her on New Year's Eve. And later, she's still in the motel room with Jose, drinking Remy with the baby. Do you get it? You're shaking your head. The only reason you're off the hook is that there's not enough room for you up there.
Ma'am, she
Because
took
when
my
you make
child from me.
Because when you make a baby, you're supposed to be able to take care of a baby.
And I was. And I provided a roof over her head till she decided to take my baby and leave with
Then
everything.
you go to court.
And that's what I'm doing,
He hasn't
ma'am.
been doing
Good.
anything.
Then you go to court. What?
When I took her to pick the baby, she was not drunk.
She had been drinking all day. She said she had been drinking
I
all
wasn't
day.
drinking all day. That's when I was drinking during the daytime, Your Honor. Then I wanted to go home with my daughter. She told me I could stay at her house, but then refused for me not to stay at her house.
I heard you. Did you know where your daughter was on January 1st with the baby in the motel? Just answer my question. Did you know where your daughter was on January 1st in the motel?
Yes.
And you
But
thought
not in the motel, Your Honor. She was at home.
she was in a motel with Jose?
Then she went there because she
So
wanted
I'm asking you, listen, I'm asking you, did you know that she was in a motel with Jose?
I did not know until afterwards.
That's what I want to know. Does it surprise you to know she was in a motel with Jose drinking?
I was surprised to know that she
That's
was
all I
there.
want. That's all I want to know. So far, maybe there's a light at the end of your tunnel. Maybe.
Your Honor, I'm a very good mom. I'm a very good mom. My daughter does not want for anything. She's well taken care of.
Listen
That
to
was
me.
just that
Miss
one
West,
night.
Did you call CPS?
Yes, I did.
Did they do an investigation?
The person that was doing the investigation got sick, and I called and talked to the person that took over the case. They've been trying to contact and locate Rachel, which they have been unsuccessfully at.
Is she living in your house?
Yes.
Did she sleep at your house last week? Listen, Miss Jimenez, you answer my question.
Yes.
Did she sleep at your house every night last week?
Yes.
I don't believe you.
You don't believe her.
I don't believe you.
I'm at my house every single day, Your Honor.
Okay. I'm not comfortable. So we're going to send this to Child Protective Services, just to be on the safe side, because I'm not hearing any reasoned response by this lady to her daughter's behavior. Drunk people don't take care of children. People who drink don't take care of children. They leave them with other responsible people. And if they don't leave them with other responsible people, then they're neglectful.
I am not neglectful for that one day, Your Honor. I don't drink every single day.
Well, listen to me, my dear.
But I was.
I'm speaking to you. According to you, I only asked you about 3 days, January 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. And according to your testimony, you drank on January 1st, January 2nd, January 3rd. That's according to you. You say that she assaulted you?
Yes.
Tell me what she did.
First of all, we all decided on January the 2nd that Rachel was still under the influence of alcohol and other substance abuse. We all decided that Rachel needed a little bit more time to get herself together. Therefore, my husband and I told Rachel we'd be more than happy to watch her until she get herself together.
You mean watch the baby?
The child, yes. So Rachel said, but I want to stay. I said, well, Rachel, you can't stay because I don't have enough room to house you. So my husband and I drove her home. So that was that. So my husband and I proceeded back home, got home. Then she had called and said, I want to come and get my baby. I said, let me speak to your mother. So her mother got on the phone. I said, well, the baby is fine. I said, she's asleep, and David and I, which is my husband, is going to take care of the child. Then the mother said, no, the baby needs to be home with Rachel.
No,
Rachel needs to take care of her own baby. But I said, but Rachel's not in any condition at this time. I said, you really need to pay attention to your daughter. I said, take this time to really analyze your daughter. She said, well, it's nothing wrong with her. I said to myself, well, she's a fool. I said, Rachel is on drugs. I just came out and told the mother. The mother said, oh, that's what you say. Then she hung up the phone.
Okay. There came a time that she came back to your house. Her mother brought her there. Now I want to skip to that point.
Okay, when Rachel came to my house, I was in my bedroom. The baby was asleep, and Rachel came in there. I want my baby. I said, Rachel, I made it perfectly clear you're not in any conditions to see to this child. I said, you've been drinking for the last 3 days, and you've been smoking weed, crystal, what they call mushrooms. I said, you really need to just calm down, you know, get yourself together. She said, no, give me my baby, give me my baby. I said, Rachel, I can't give you your baby. I said, anyway, how did you get here? She said, my mother brought me. I said, well, I need to talk to your mother then. So I told my husband, David, to go out there and see was her mother actually out there. Then Rachel would say, no, no, just give me my baby, just give me my baby. I said, Rachel, I'm here to help you. I don't want to call the police and report you to CPS. I said, you're not leaving me any alternative. At that point, her mother came in. Then I gave her the baby. Then I talked to her mother, Tina. I said, Rachel is not in any condition to provide for this child. But if you tell me that you're going to take care of this baby and be solely responsible for this child, I can give the child to you. Then she said, well, that's Rachel's responsibility. I'll help her. I said, oh, no. I said, you're going to tell me you're going to help her? I said, she can't help herself at this time. So mother said, I'm leaving, we leaving. Then I said, no, you have to wait for the police. So Rachel was behind me. And she said, no, no, get away from my baby. Get away from, I'm taking my baby. And popped me upside the head.
She's lying, Your Honor.
I don't want to hear you.
So I said, you have to stay for the police. So then she bopped me again. I said, now, wait a minute. Are you fighting? And then she just took off, and I said, I just had gasket bypass surgery. I'm not strong. And she just commenced on. So, hey, I'm going to defend my stomach and everything.
Gotcha. Gotcha. You know what a hair follicle test is?
What's that? Oh, they pick the hair.
Yeah. We take a piece of your hair, And the hair will tell us whether, in the past year, you have used any drugs, and if you've used alcohol, how much. You prepared to take a hair follicle test?
I feel that there's no reason to
You
take
prepared? My question is, that requires a yes or a no answer. You say that you did not use drugs, and you don't have an alcohol problem. So my question to you is, are you prepared to take a hair follicle test that requires a yes or a no answer?
No, I'm not going to take a hair
Right.
follicle test. For what?
Correct.
I'm here for the fact that this woman assaulted me.
I don't
She's
believe
lying.
she assaulted you.
She did assault me, Your Honor. This woman is lying through her teeth, Your Honor.
Miss Cooper, now your mother knows. If I said to you, Miss Jimenez, I have serious questions as to whether or not you abuse drugs, and I can find that out very easily. Are you prepared to give us a strand of hair so we can do a hair follicle test? What would you say to me?
Yes.
Of course. What did your daughter say to me?
She said no.
Do you know why? I've been in this business for 40 years. I know why.
But Your
Copy
Honor,
of that. I'm speaking. Copy of this case will be sent to Child Protective Services. Your lawsuit is dismissed. So is your counterclaim. You would not have filed this counterclaim unless you filed the lawsuit, correct?
Correct.
We'll take care of what you wanted to do, which is at least try to have this baby protected. Child Protective Services will do a follow-up now that she's declined to take a test. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you understand? Now, I don't know what you do, but you got to get more together and you got to get involved. It's not up to her to take over your responsibility.
I ain't seen
That's
my
all.
baby
See
in
that
so
now?
Take care of his child.
She took my baby.
Oh, whatever.
Maria Becca Figo is suing her ex-fiancé, Robert Michael Strickland, for credit card bills and the return of a Dr. Seuss sculpture.
Mr. Strickland, I'm going to go directly to you, sir.
Okay.
I put together from both your complaint and your answer what seems to be a relatively easy story to tell, but then I have to come to you for the answers.
Okay.
You and the plaintiff were together for a very long time as a couple, even engaged at some point, according to both the complaint and the answer. You lived together. That ended about a year ago, but you remained friends. As a matter of fact, according to both of you, when you came into town on business, you would very often stay at the plaintiff's apartment, whether she was there or not there, because you saved some money and you were friends. You kept in touch. When you were together as a couple, you amassed a large credit card bill. And when you separated, you decided that you would arrange to split those expenses somehow. And you agreed to pay to the plaintiff $400 a month towards the credit cards for a period of 1 year, from August 2004 until August of 2005. And that's what you did, just shy of the year, 3 months shy of the year. Every month you sent her $400, she paid off the credit card bills. Then one day, probably in June, was it in June, you stayed over at her house?
April.
April. Stayed at her house, and according to the plaintiff, you found some evidence that she was involved with somebody on a serious basis.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes,
You didn't know about that,
that's correct.
and that was the last time that you paid the $400.
Yes.
In addition, when you left her apartment, you took a sculpture that had been in her apartment for the 8 months that you were separated, because now you say it was your sculpture.
Well, I believed it was my sculpture the entire time.
So is that the story? That's the case.
Exactly.
You want your $1,600 back, and you want your sculpture back.
Actually, I lowered that amount. I realized that he did give me one last payment in April, so he actually only owes me for 3 months, so $1,200 instead of $1,600.
Great. And you want your sculpture back.
Yes.
Now I want you to tell me why she shouldn't get her $1,200 and the sculpture back.
Well, first of all, Your Honor, I have the invoice from the gallery where I purchased the sculpture, and it has my name only. And in October of 2004, I made a lump sum payment of $6,200 towards her credit cards. I think this is more than fair. The reason I was paying her $400 a month is because I felt sorry for her. She told me she could not make her living expenses based on her salary and continue to make even the minimum payments on her credit card debt. And as in April, when I found the evidence, I realized that...
Well, she wasn't hiding anything from you, sir. You weren't a couple anymore.
Well, the fact is that I'm back together. There was never a clear breakup. In fact, after she had the sculpture, we went on a trip to Costa Rica together. We went on a trip to South America together.
How did she get the sculpture?
She took it and went to her apartment.
Explain how that happened. You
Well-
had evidently acquired a lot of things
Correct.
while you were together as a couple.
Right.
You took some things.
Mm-hmm.
What did you take?
I kept some of the possessions in the house. She also took a dining table and some other pieces of art.
Is that by agreement?
Yes, but I never intended for her to have it permanently.
I don't think what was in your
I
mind.
don't think there was never a clear agreement.
When you said, well, you were living...
We wrote it down. We had a list of the major household items, and it had my name and his name, and we checked off which ones we wanted. And then when there were items, you know, like I took the kitchen items because I cook and he doesn't. So when we got to the items that we both wanted, such as the sculpture and the other pieces of artwork, we finally agreed...
What other pieces of artwork?
Well, we have 2 other Dr. Seuss pieces of artwork that
Do you have a picture of this piece of art?
The
I only have
one
a
in
piece.
question, yes.
Yes. Can I see it, please?
The one on the left.
Okay. How many pieces of this Dr. Seuss art do you have?
We had 3 total when we were together. And he ended up with 2 of them, and I ended up with 1 of them.
And this was on the list that you prepared?
Yes.
When you no longer were living together, was that at the end of a lease, or did you just separate?
No, we just separated.
Were you living in an apartment?
Yes.
Who stayed in the apartment?
I did.
For how long? After you separated?
Well, see, there's never a clear separation.
Yes, there was a separation when when you turn over at night and you don't see somebody there, you know she's gone.
Well-
Mr. Strickland, you keep saying it, but you know,
Well,
if
Your
I woke
Honor,
up in the morning and said,
actually, before that-
we used to, we used to sit at the dining room table and have dinner together. She's not
Right.
here anymore. It would give me some clue that you were no longer together. So let's answer my question, not dance around, because believe me,
Can
sir,
I give an explanation for that?
no.
Okay.
Because especially if there's a list, you take this, I'm taking this, you take this, I'm taking this, your name, his name. What's your first name?
Maria.
And yours?
Michael.
Maria, Michael, Michael, Maria, 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 Michael, Michael, Michael. And then she leaves. Now, when she left and she took the sculpture with her and the dining room table or the kitchen stuff or whatever she took with her, you didn't call the police and report it stolen, did you?
No, I did not.
Because you anticipated that you still might get together and be a couple.
Correct.
That didn't happen. That doesn't mean you can take back the sculpture, Michael. You have to get over it.
Okay.
Happens.
I don't even know how
Yeah,
he anticipated that.
You have to return it to her.
Okay.
You have 5 days to return it to her. And you agreed to give her, for whatever reason, because you were together, because there were tremendous credit card bills, because young people very often do that, which is very stupid, but you were together as a couple for how many years?
6 or 7.
Well, that's a long time. And how much in credit card bills did you have?
20,000, maybe more.
Well, that's what happens. And how much were the credit card bills that you personally were left with?
I would guess 15 or 20,000. I don't know exactly. I have not gone through and accumulated them.
You have not?
No.
Well, I suggest you get a financial planner and do that. In any event, you agreed to pay her $400 a month. You still owe her $1,200 on that debt. And within 5 days, Michael, you have to give her back her Dr. Seuss. She wants it.
Your Honor, I'm sorry. I no longer have the sculpture.
You get one.
Okay.
Get one. 5 days. You get it back to her. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Very good.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Erin Creatia says her boyfriend's ex, Tanya Cruz, vandalized her car by kicking it.
Miss Creatia, the defendant is your current boyfriend, I assume this gentleman over here, your current boyfriend's ex-girlfriend. And they had a relationship, must have been for a while, because they have 2 children together. It is your complaint that Miss Cruz was in a snit about something, and when your boyfriend went over to her house to pick up or drop off the children, he was using your car, and she took out her frustrations on him by kicking your car and causing damage. Miss Cruz says she would never do such a thing, right?
Right.
When did this happen?
April 22nd.
You weren't there,
No.
but the boyfriend was there.
Yes.
And his name is?
Ben Mojica.
Mr. Mojica, would you stand up, please? Next to her. How many children do you have?
2.
How old are they?
7 and 6.
5.
How long did you and Miss Cruz live together?
So about 10 or 11 years.
Never married?
No, ma'am.
How come?
Just didn't get married.
couldn't afford to.
Shh. Did you ever ask her?
No.
Excuse.
What?
He was going to buy me a ring, but I told him not to bother, so.
Did you tell him not to bother after your first child or your second child?
After my second one, when I knew that things were going pretty much downhill.
You couldn't have a clue to that before you had children with him?
No, he was actually a pretty good guy at that time. He just seemed to have went down the tubes, going to jail, getting into things that I don't want around my children.
Who is this man?
My uncle.
Uncle. Just seems a little odd to me that life has changed so much over the last 20, 30 years. That people live together 10 or 11 years. They don't want to make a commitment to get married, but they don't feel as if having children is a commitment. Just something doesn't balance out to me, so I'm always interested in this as it's just a social experiment. Do you understand that, Ben?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so on the 22nd of April, what were you doing over at her house?
They were having a toy party.
What is that?
An adult party, like toys, dolls and things like that.
No, it's like lotions and stuff.
What?
Lotions, it's for adult, it's for...
An adult toy party. I shouldn't have gone any further. I thought it was a toy party for children. My mistake. Okay, so you were having an adult party.
Right. It's
Okay,
not just
go ahead.
Well, I was with the kids, with Marcus and Tiaja. We were at Lori's house.
Who's Lori?
A friend of hers and mine. And Marcus and Tiaja were there with me. I had picked them up.
Your two children?
Yes, at the daycare earlier in the day. And I had called Tanya. Then she had informed me about they were having a little party, and her sister, Michelle, was down here from Hartford. And Michelle also has two children. And she just had one, so he wouldn't know anything really what was going on. Xavier would know. So she asked me, Ben, can you come and pick up Xavier?
Who asked you?
Michelle did.
That's her sister. So
yes,
her let's get to the story a little bit faster.
All right.
Sorry. So far you're doing fine, but we got to get there because I have other things to do.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so her sister said, can you come and pick up
Yes, can you come and
Xavier,
pick up
who is
Xavier?
how old?
About 11, I believe.
How old is Xavier?
He's 10.
10 or 11. You always quibble over a year. So they wanted you to come pick him up because the party was inappropriate for him.
Yes, for him.
Okay, so you went to pick him up?
So I went to pick him up, and Marcus and Tiaja were with me at Lori's at the time. Marcus was hungry, and I had just ordered Chinese food. And I told Erin and I told Lori, hey, you know, I'm going to leave him. He's hungry. He'll just have something to eat. Can you watch him? She said, sure. I took Tiaja with me, which is my daughter.
She wasn't hungry?
No.
She's always hungry.
Don't do it again. Right. You want to know why? Miss Cruz, because if I see that you can't control yourself in the courtroom, how am I going to believe you when you tell me that you wouldn't dare do what she says you did to her car, because you don't have a temper like that. You can control yourself, right? So far, it's been twice that you haven't been able to control yourself, or 3 times. You get me? Yes. Even your uncle gets me, right?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Go ahead.
So when I pulled up to pick up Xavier, Tanya was outside and Michelle was outside with her baby that she just had. So she came out to show me. I'm real close with them and stuff. And when she came outside, I said, oh, Michelle, there's your new baby. I'm getting out of the car. And she kept asking me, where is my son? Ben, where is Marcus? Where the F is Marcus? And I'm ignoring her because she gets loud and she's always doing that. And Tiaja, I look at Tiaja and I saw in her eyes, she was getting, you know,
right,
like, what's
her mother
going on?
was acting inappropriately.
Yeah, so I said, Tanya, you know, relax. Why do you guys? She goes, no, where the F is my son? Pa, pa, pa. So I kept ignoring her, and I'm talking to Michelle. She said, you want to ignore me? Or I don't know if she chose those words or whatever. She went right around us and started kicking the car. And that's when I got off, obviously.
And?
There was people around, and I said, you guys saw that, right? You guys saw what she just did, right? Right? And everybody's like, you know, all of a sudden nobody saw anything except one kid. He saw it. And I have a police report.
I'd like to see the police report, please.
And he's
Can't control yourself?
He's a minor, Your Honor?
No,
Can't control yourself?
I'm just trying to,
You're trying
to put my hand.
What do you think? You think that I'm not going to let you speak? Do you think that this is only a one-sided case, that only he gets to speak? You do know that both sides get to speak, right, Miss Cruz? In their turn. What's Uncle's name?
Vincent.
You get it, Vincent?
Yes, ma'am.
You get her, Vincent?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. because you're going to have to make a very important decision, Vincent, as to whether or not you want to speak later.
Okay.
Because you don't look like the kind of guy that wants to be humiliated. All right. Okay, Miss Cruz, now it's your turn. 2005. How many people were at the party?
At that point, there was probably about 4.
Four
My
women?
sister, yes.
Where was Uncle Vincent?
He was not there.
So Uncle Vincent saw nothing. Is that right?
Right. But when I went outside, they were outside talking. I noticed that my son wasn't in the car. I asked him, you know, where's my son? He ignored me. Where's my son? In which he had told my brother she looked so good that I couldn't look at her. That was in his words. After he ignored me, I said, Tiaja, get out of the car, go get my son, bring him back.
Why did you do that?
Because he had just came back from Florida. For 2 years, he hasn't seen his children. So why are you going to leave your kids behind? And my daughter not being hungry, she's hungry all the time, but that's irrelevant. So I told my daughter to come in with me. We went in. He has a very bad temper, so I know not to provoke him. We went inside the house. He started swearing and, you know, saying derogatory comments, in which I shut the door because I had company. I thought that was over with. I sat there, I got a knock on the door. The cops came. They know him very well. They ended up asking him to leave the premises. And 3 months later, I get court papers in the mail.
He made the police report that day, and there was a witness in the police report who indicates that they saw you kick the car.
I forgot to tell you. He says, I'll pay somebody to say that she kicked the car.
Ridiculous.
Is there anything that Uncle Vincent is going to tell me? No, he's just here for moral support.
Right. Perfect. Pretty much the women that were at my house are single working moms. And
well, they're single working moms, but you were having a party at your house, the subject matter of which was inappropriate for children.
Right.
And you had a 10-year-old child there.
No, my sister had called, and they got along.
She didn't call.
Yeah,
he called your house.
No, she had called him.
So she had called him to please come over and pick up her son?
Well, she had said, come see my nephew. You know, he's still a baby.
Sounds as if your family doesn't dislike him as much as you do.
No, we actually, they get along with him.
Good. Can I see the estimate, please, on the car? And this was your car?
Yes.
Ms. Cruz, I don't believe you. I believe you have a hot temper, and I believe you went out there and gave the car a good kick because he ignored you. And I believe that you walked outside the house and you said exactly what he said you said.
I interrupted a couple times because he takes a long time to tell us.
Listen to me. What I'm telling you is I believe him, and I don't believe you. I believe that you kicked the car because you were frustrated and annoyed that he wouldn't respond to you.
I was upset.
Oh, I know that. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $894. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
26-year-old Crystal Quint is suing the father of her son, Aaron Steele, for more than $2,000 in credit card charges.
Miss Quint, how old are you?
26.
Have you ever watched my courtroom on television?
Yes, I have.
For how many years?
Many.
How many is many?
Probably 10.
And in the 10 years you've been watching how the proceedings go here and what the litigants are like, didn't it ever impress you that whenever you give money to a guy, you always get the short end of the stick?
Yes.
You thought you were different.
Yes.
And you thought he was different.
Yes.
They all think they're different. They're all the same.
I know that now.
You have a child with him?
Yes, I do.
How old?
He'll be 3 next month.
How many times did Mr. Steele propose marriage to you?
Once.
When?
January 1st of 2007.
And what did you say to him?
Yes. But it only lasted 5 days.
Just a second. You said yes?
Yes.
And what happened?
Well, we were engaged, and then 5 days later, I broke it off.
Why?
Because I found out a huge lie.
A huge lie?
Yes.
But you continued to see him?
Yes.
And you gave him a lot of money?
Yes, I did.
And you gave him a credit card?
No, I did not. I did not give him the card. I used the card.
You let him charge things on the card?
Only for his car.
And he promised to pay you?
Yes, he did.
And he didn't pay you?
Correct.
That was another lie?
Yes.
after you broke off your engagement with him because of a really huge lie. Now, what part of different from all the other people that you saw over 10 years did you think he was? Okay, Mr. Steele's defense is that's what couples do for each other. She gave me money, and that's what couples do for each other.
Yeah, that's what couples do for each other. They help each other out.
Okay, Mr. Steele. Well, you helped her out, and she became pregnant, right? Yes. And now you have a 3-year-old child, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Is this your only child?
No.
How many other children do you have?
I have one other.
How old?
He's 6.
Are you married to his mother?
No.
You just like to make them, right? Yeah. Now, what kind of work do you do, Mr. Steele?
Construction.
And
He's
how much
not working right
Shut
now.
up! Do I look like I need help? You're in construction.
Mm-hmm.
And is there a child support order for Miss Quint's baby?
Yes.
How much?
It hasn't been settled yet.
Well, the child's 3.
Mm-hmm.
And for the last 2 years, have you lived together?
No.
How much child support have you paid?
I haven't paid any child support.
Well, then I'm trying to figure out what you do for her as a couple.
I paid bills that I had to
Tell
pay
me.
when I was working.
No. Just tell me, in the last 2 years, what bills did you pay for her?
Rent, cable.
Just a minute. Rent? You paid her rent when?
2007.
When in 2007, sir?
Like January, February. I helped pay rent every month.
For how long?
The whole time I was living there.
When you weren't living there.
I didn't pay anything.
Well, that's what I'm asking you, sir. In the last 2 years, you have a child.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't set a child support order yet, but that doesn't mean anything. The child is not, you don't put him in a vacuum for 2 years. The child eats, has clothes, has medical, has all kinds of other expenses. I want to know how much you pay Miss Quint. I assume the child is with her.
Yes.
How much do you pay for your child?
Nothing.
Why?
I don't have the money, even
Who
if I did
cares
want to
whether
pay.
you have the money or not? I don't care whether you have the money or not. Is it a boy or a girl that you have in this Quint?
It's a boy.
Your son doesn't care whether you have the money or not. He has to eat.
Mm-hmm.
And how much money do you send for your 6-year-old?
None.
You think that he lives on love too?
I hope.
I hope. You're a bum. You're a bum who spends a lot of money on his own jewelry. You think that I think you're cute? I don't. You may get young ladies like this who think that you're adorable. I guarantee you, to me, you look like nothing but a bum. Now, what did you take money from her for in 2008? You needed to have your truck fixed. And how much did that cost?
Well, it was my car.
I don't care whether it was a truck or a car. It had 4 wheels, not 2, smart Alec. Let's go. How much did it cost?
About $4,500.
And who paid for it?
Crystal Quint did.
From what money?
On her credit card.
And how did you think that that was going to get paid?
Monthly payments.
By whom?
We were a couple.
You weren't a couple in 2008. You told me that you moved out in 2007. You weren't a couple. Couples who have children together live together. You weren't living with her in 2008.
I didn't plan on paying anything back to her.
Well, that's a big mistake. Should have saved your money from K Jewelers and put a little money towards your car and spent a little more money on the children that you made. You pay you back any of this money, Miss Quint?
He paid a total of $141.
You have 2 children, right?
I only have 1.
You have 1. He has 2.
Yes.
Do you work?
Yes, I do.
Who do you work for?
I work for a pet shop in Las Vegas.
How long have you been working for them?
Since the movement, I moved to Las Vegas, so a little over 3 years.
You live by yourself?
Yes, I do.
Who takes care of your son?
I do, 100%.
He's in daycare when you're working?
No, actually, he comes with me, and my mom comes picks him up.
You sued him for support?
I'm in the process right now.
You waited too long.
I know.
He doesn't do anything unless he has to.
I know that now. That's why I did the child support order, is because I've asked him for money, and he won't send me
He's
anything.
a bum. Bums don't do what they're supposed to do. If you have 2 children, you collect cans in the street in order to send them something, because somehow he's eating, right?
Yes.
And he's got a roof over his head, right?
At his grandpa's, yes.
Somehow he's surviving. Don't let me hear that you're back with him again.
Never.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $4,200. That's all. Thank you.
Felicia Hammond is suing her neighbor, 22-year-old Ashley Francis, for damage to her car. Felicia says Ashley's son, 7-year-old Derek, scratched her bumper when he crashed his bike.
Miss Hammond, how long have you and Miss Francis been neighbors?
Approximately a year.
You have children?
No.
Who do you live with?
Myself.
How many children do you have?
1. Derek.
Cute. It is your claim, Miss Hammond, that this adorable little boy fell off his bike and scratched the bumper of your car.
Yes.
You want his mother to pay for that scratch.
Yes.
Can I see the picture of the scratch?
Yes.
You're talking about this little scratch right here.
Yes.
Does it have any other scratches on it?
No, ma'am.
So, tell me what happened.
On January 1st, 2005, I was looking out of my bedroom window. Derek was riding his bicycle in the middle of the street. He ran into my car. His front wheel of his bicycle hit my passenger back wheel. And the way the bike fell, I guess the pedal of his bike must have scratched my bumper. I immediately went outside to check the damages, and that's when I noticed the scratch on my bumper. I went back in the house, contacted the police.
That's one of the things in your complaint that I didn't understand. Why did you call the police?
For a police report.
Why?
Just in case she didn't want to pay, just for my evidence.
Well, instead of going over to Miss Francis first, before you call the police, I mean, that wouldn't have been my first reaction. I mean, it might have been my first reaction if a big boy came up to your car and took a rock and scratched it. I mean, that's vandalism. Mm-hmm. This wasn't vandalism, this was an accident.
It was an accident, yes.
So I don't understand your overreaction in calling the police.
Well, I wouldn't consider it an overreaction, but that was just...
well, you may not consider it an overreaction. But I'm telling you it was an overreaction.
Okay, well, that's what I did, and then after that, I went over and talked to his mother.
What did you say to her when you went over
I told her that her son was riding his bicycle. He fell off the bicycle, and his bicycle damaged my bumper.
Did you tell her you would call the police?
I told her I called the police.
What was her reaction when you told her you called the police?
She just said, okay, we'll wait till they get here, and we'll take it from there. And she told me that she would pay me for the damages.
Is that the conversation you had?
Well, first of all, he fell off his bike. He came home to me, and his leg was all scraped up, and he was crying. 2 minutes later, I got a knock on the door, and she was telling me, your son hit my car with his bike. I saw him hit my car with his bike. You will pay for it. I told her right now I'm not in a position to pay for anything. Me and my mother had talked, and she asked, did I see it happen? Did Derek remember if it happened? Derek just remembered he fell off the bike.
Derek remembered he fell off the bike and hurt himself.
Right.
Let us say, Miss Francis, that Derek fell off of his bike and scratched the bumper of her car.
Right.
That's what happened.
That's what she's saying.
I'm telling you that's what happened.
Okay. Well, there was also several kids that always play in that neighborhood.
Don't make excuses. Derek fell off of his bike. She saw him fall off the bike at the exact same moment. He came home crying that he had fallen off his bike. He scraped his leg. It all fits. I don't care how many other people were around the car or around the neighborhood or around the planet.
Okay.
He didn't mean it. It was an accident. Unfortunately, Miss Hammond was not a good neighbor.
And the way that she...
I'm telling you, Miss Hammond, you were not a good neighbor. And if you had had little children, the first call wouldn't have been to the police to file a police report.
Okay,
The first call would have been to Miss Francis to say, your little boy just fell, is he okay? That would have been the first call. He fell and he scratched my car. Do you get it?
I get it, but I didn't know that he had damaged his leg.
Yes. Just a second, of course. Well, that's the question you ask.
Well, he got
I want quiet. The question that you ask is, I saw Derek fall off his bike. Is he okay?
Well, when he fell, he got back on the bike and he rode off.
So he wasn't an extremist, which means he's okay.
He was, yeah.
As it happened, he hurt himself. Scratched leg, scratched bumper. How old are you?
7. He just turned 7 September 16th.
So he's thinking 7, okay? Your car is 10. He's 7.
Yes.
Scratched leg, scratched bumper. You got it?
Yes.
All right. You have an estimate for the damage?
ma'am.
I'd like to take a look at it. Is that about right, Bert? $300 to fix it?
Guess so.
$376 to be exact. You have to have a perfect bumper.
But can't they just paint the scratch? Because when we
Bumpers
scratch...
aren't, I'm told, that they're made out of a different material, that you can't use touch-up paint. Is that right?
That's right.
Otherwise, believe me, $9.95 she would have gotten a little touch-up paint and touch it up, but you can't do that with a bumper. I know. Somebody just did it to my bumper. Judgment to the plaintiff in the amount of $376. Okay.
Thank you,
Be a
Your
good
Honor.
neighbor. Goes
Wow.
much further. That's all.
20-year-old Tyler Gray is suing his ex-girlfriend, 18-year-old Shalia Slayton, and her mother, Tram, for a loan to buy a car and a loan to take a vacation.
Mr. Gray, Miss Slayton is your former girlfriend.
Right.
And this is what your complaint alleges. It alleges that several months ago, you loaned her $1,000 to put as a down payment on a car. She was supposed to make the payments on the car. You were the co-signer on the car loan. She didn't make the payments, and you repossessed the car. According to what I read, you said you sold the car. Did you sell the car, or did you give the car to your mother?
My mother took over the car payments.
And how much after the car was purchased did your mother take over the car payments? How many months?
About 2.
Oh. And then you allege that the defendant went on a vacation. She was your girlfriend. She notified you on the vacation that she was short of some money and asked you if you could put some cash in a joint checking account that you had.
Right.
And you put $300 in the joint checking account because that's what you do.
Right.
And when she came back from vacation, she broke up with you. That's what you say, right?
Yes, we broke up after I got back.
No, your answer says that after you came back from vacation, you broke up with him, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So let's take care of the car first. Forget about the car. You gave the car to your mother. She used the car maybe 2 months. Car's your problem. Got it?
No, actually, she...
No, now you believe, trust me. I want you to trust me. I want you to trust me. That's it. Because if you had sold the car to a stranger at an arm's length transaction, and if there was a shortfall on what you were owed, I might listen to you. The fact that your mother took over the payments, that's not what we call an arm's length transaction. Say nothing. You're driving the car?
Yes.
That's it. The car is yours. You just bought a car for your mother. And if she's going to make the payments, that's $300. Now, when did you go on this vacation?
I went July 15th through the 18th, I believe.
And where did you go?
I went to Newport Beach to visit my sister as a graduation present.
And when did you call him for the $300?
Probably that Saturday I was there.
Well, you went there on the 15th, 15th, 16th, 17th, and you came
Yeah,
back on the
probably
18th.
yeah, the second day I was there, I called him.
And when did you break up with him?
The night I came back, we actually ended up breaking up.
You broke up with him?
Yeah.
Tell me why.
We broke up because this was now a new chapter in my life. I just graduated from high school. I was starting college soon, and I wanted to focus on what I needed to do.
When did you come to this revelation? On the 15th, 16th, 17th, or 18th? Don't speak to her. When did you come to this revelation?
I had been thinking about it prior to leaving, and when I...
And why did you call him and ask him for money?
Well, because we had a joint account, and whenever he needed money, I would give him the money.
Well, that's because there was goodwill between you. You think that if you had called him up on the 16th and said to him, what's your first name?
Tyler.
Tyler. Tyler, when I get back, I'm going to break up with you, but right now I'm visiting with my sister and I need $300. You think he would have put $300? Listen to me. You see how you just laughed? See, you just laughed? I just want you to think about that. If you had called him up on the 16th and said, Tyler, I've been thinking about our relationship. I want to move on. I need a new chapter in my life, but I'm down here with my sister. We're having a good time. I need $300. I'm short. Could you put $300 in our account? You think he would have done it?
Probably not.
Right. So you owe him $300 because you weren't being honest with him. And the fact that you had a joint account where you each put money during the course of your relationship when you had a trusting, mutual relationship with him, that's one thing. But that was pretty sneaky. To break up with him the day you... Don't poke her! It was pretty sneaky calling him and breaking up with him 2 days later. How do you think he felt? He felt like an idiot. Felt like an idiot. This wasn't some revelation. Been thinking about it for a while.
Well, this account was actually my account, and he couldn't get an account of his own, so I put him on as my account so that he could deposit his paychecks into there.
Yeah.
But towards the end of our relationship, he didn't have a job, and he was spending my money.
So this was a way of getting money back?
It wasn't getting back at him or anything like that.
Sure it was. Sure it was. You figure you would cut your losses. What you did was not right. So far on his claim, he gets Zippo for the car, $300 that you had him put in while you were on vacation getting ready to dump him. Now, getting back to your counterclaim. Say nothing. I'm not interested. Do you understand? Let's get to your counterclaim. You say he overdrew your checking account by $700.
Yeah.
When did he do that?
While I was in Newport.
Show me. Did you overdraw her checking account, sir?
No.
All of the ones highlighted are the transaction his card made.
I don't even think we had 700.
No, highlighted. You have something here on 720 and 721. That's not when you were in Newport. Did you take money out of this account, sir?
I didn't take $700 out of the account.
No,
we didn't
100
have $700 in our account.
No. There was 100 taken out on 719 and again on 719. You took out $300. So right after she broke up with you, you withdrew $300 from the account. Is that right?
No.
Take a look at 719. $719, your account.
719, withdraw $100. Okay?
And then there's another 719.
I have 200. You're correct.
I'm always correct.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Listen to me. This was your joint money. Up until the point when you're no longer a couple. And I can understand you going in and saying, I'm not going to let her make a fool out of me and take my $300 when she knew she was going to break $300. No. Your mother's driving around in the other $1,000.
She purchased the car with the full amount that we bought it. She never made a car payment on the car.
Listen to me. Arm's length transaction. I tried to explain that to you. If you don't understand it, go to a lawyer. They'll explain it to you better. I don't have the time to educate you. If you sold the car to a stranger, I would hear you. You gave the car to your mother. I don't want to hear it. You took your $300 back after she broke up with you, so you get no $300. Don't put anybody else on your checking account, madam. He put in $300. He took out his $300. So you don't owe him any money, and he doesn't owe you any money. Go, have a happy life. Goodbye, good luck. Have a nice day.
Parties are excused when they step out.
Charlene Juergen says ex-boyfriend Colin Hager owes for a burglary, an assault, and a loan for bail.
All right, Ms. Juergens, you and the defendant used to have a romantic relationship, and according to your complaint, something happened a year ago that caused all kinds of problems. There was a freeway altercation between the two of you. You claim he assaulted you, then he was arrested. Then you decided that you would help him out by bailing him out. You obligated yourself to a bail bondsman. You claim he owes you money for that. You claim he owes you money for the assault. You claim he owes you money for going into your apartment at some time subsequent to this altercation and ruining your property. Mr. Hager has a whole different interpretation of what happened on the freeway about a year ago. He says that you actually stole money from him, that you're not obligated to the bail bondsman. He's obligated to the bail bondsman. He's going to have an opportunity to tell me, but you're no longer in love?
No.
Absolutely not.
You don't see each other anymore?
No way.
No.
Perfect. So, tell me what happened a year ago, Ms. Juergens.
I was in a violent relationship, so I moved out of my county to a different county, and he followed me down there. He learned where I lived.
Look at me. Don't look down there.
And he showed up and broke into my bathroom window. And he...
Were you home during all this time?
No, I was not home.
Just a second. You have any proof that he burglarized your house?
No. I have a police report of the robbery.
That you reported?
Yes, I did report it.
I can make a report. I can make a report that he burglarized my house.
He admitted he went through my bathroom window on the police report.
What date?
On November 25th of 2004, he admitted on his police report to the police in San Diego that he went through my bathroom window.
Okay, let me see that.
Didn't know.
Because November 25th, 2004 is the same day as this freeway altercation. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Let me see the report where he admits that.
I never even spoke to the police.
Shh. Just a second. Would you have her point out where he says window? Just circle it. Circle where he admits to the police that he went into your bathroom window.
He returned and climbed through my bathroom window.
That's you telling the police. You said he admitted to the police that he went through my bathroom window. I said, show me in the report.
Perhaps he admitted it to me.
Oh, all right. Would you get to the freeway, please? What happened on the freeway?
Well, I left my home because I didn't want any problems at my home. So I got in my car and I was traveling to my friend's house, and his car chased me, and I thought I should go right to the police department. And he followed me, and then he ran me off the road in front of an office, and the lady came out and dialed 911.
Keep going.
I couldn't call 911 because he was reaching in my window to steal my cell phone.
Keep going.
He hit my rental car, and then he sped off.
Keep going.
So basically, that's hit and run. The police arrived, took my statement, and they went to track him for the robbery and the damages to the car.
Keep going.
They found him and they arrested him. He said he had a drink and a lost phone, and he was crying and upset.
Let's get to the bail, Miss Juergens, please.
He was arrested in San Diego. He knew my home phone number, so he called collect, and he promised to pay for those collect
Just a
calls.
second. He called collect, and the operator said, I have Mr. Hager on the phone, and you said, I'll accept the charges.
Not the first time.
I don't care if it's the first time or the 100th time. At some
Eventually,
point-
I took the call.
And what happened when you took the call?
He was upset and crying and promising me that he would quit using drugs and he would go to AA and never drink again. Please help me get out. My family won't help me. My sister won't bail me out. Only you can help me out.
So?
I hung up on him and I called my lawyer.
About what?
I said, my ex-boyfriend was arrested and he's asking me to bail him out. And my attorney said, well, that's a great idea because then you can bring him to us and we can get a retainer. So bail him out, sign for his release.
You think I believe that? You think I believe what you just told me? You think Byrd believes what you just told me? That you calling your lawyer and you said, my ex-boyfriend who beat me up, who I moved from one county to another county to get away from, just called me up to bail him out of jail because after he burglarized my house, assaulted me, chased me down the freeway, damaged my rental car, tried to steal my cell phone. After all of that, wants me to bail him out. And your lawyer said to you, that sounds like a great idea. Why don't you do that and we can get a retainer from him and then we'll all be one happy family. So you went and bailed him out and put down with the bail bondsman how much?
I didn't put any monies down. I just signed for his release as my attorney told me to do so.
So they let him out because you promised to pay?
He promised.
So what are you suing him for bail for?
I have a promissory note that he promised to pay and he's never paid.
Well, what does that have to do with you? If you just said you're not obligated to pay the bail, what is the promise? You're suing on behalf of the bail bondsman?
The bail bondsman is suing me for the amount of $2,500 for
Show me that the bail bondsman is suing you. Well, they're not suing you. They said if this matter is not resolved, they're going to send this to a collection agency. Tell them to sue you. All right. Tell me this story about what happened, Miss Juergens, when you signed him out and took him to your lawyer. Tell me what happened.
My lawyers had him sign a retainer and they made $8,000 off of him.
Yes.
Then they called him and said, why haven't you paid that bail bond? It's going to collections. Pay it. And he promised.
Just a minute. Why would you take him to your lawyer?
Because
this man who you fled from one county to another to get away from, who just burglarized your house, assaulted you in your home, battered your car, almost killed you on a freeway, why would you take him to your lawyer?
To get him out of my county of San Diego and put him back in Orange County and let my lawyers handle it.
How many lawyers are there in Orange County?
About 1 million.
Right. And according to you, we paid your lawyer $8,000. I guarantee you another half dozen of the 1 million lawyers in Orange County would have taken the case for $8,000. So why you chose to take him to your lawyer, the whole story is so bizarre, and if the story is so bizarre, and if it doesn't make sense, it didn't happen that way. All right, Mr. Hager, I've listened to the fairy tale on this side. You want to tell me your side of this fairy tale?
What really happened was she took off with my phone after coming to my hotel room.
Where was your hotel?
San Diego, Mission Bay.
What were you doing?
They're like getting ready to go to SeaWorld.
You were getting ready to go to SeaWorld?
Yeah.
Who were you going to SeaWorld with?
I was going to go to SeaWorld with my daughter.
Was your daughter with you?
No, she wasn't at the time.
Where does she live?
She lives down in Costa Mesa.
Listen, Mr. Hager,
Yeah.
you're always going to get tripped up on a little detail.
Yeah.
Because they make up the story as they're going. Do you understand?
Oh, I'm not making it up.
Oh! What were you doing in a hotel room, and what was she doing in your hotel room while you're getting ready to take your daughter to see the sea lions?
My daughter wasn't with me at the time. She was in Oceanside visiting her cousins. Charlene came down there because she had to see me.
Just a second. How did she know you were there, sir?
She called me.
On your cell phone?
Yeah.
Okay. And you told her, I'm here. Did you tell her before or after you arrived?
After I arrived, I believe.
And she came to your hotel?
Yeah.
What's the name of the hotel?
I think it was the Hilton.
Paid by credit card or cash?
Credit card, I believe.
And you registered there in your own name?
Yes, yes.
Why do you hesitate?
Well, I have trouble with remembering details. Yes.
Well, I mean, it would be a simple thing. Somebody said, did you register there in your own name? I'd say, of course.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say, Do you know what I'm saying, Mr.
Yeah,
Hager?
I know what you're saying, yeah.
It's the little details that are going to trip you up if I don't get an accurate story from you.
Okay.
Or as close to accurate in this fantasy that I want to get.
All right.
So she came to your hotel.
Yes.
For what purpose?
To talk.
About what?
About a relationship, and also to try and talk me into like backing off on some of the accusations and charges I had against her.
For what?
Battery, robbery, all kinds of stuff.
Were there criminal charges pending against her at the time?
Yes.
Is that true, Ms. Juergens?
1, assault. Robbery is false.
So at the time you went to his hotel, there was a current criminal action pending against you?
Yes.
Well, at least I got you in his hotel. That's different from the bathroom in your house. Now, according to you, she left your hotel with your cell phone. Is that right?
That's correct.
And that's why you followed her on the freeway.
Yes.
Did you pay the bail bondsman, sir?
Yes, I paid him everything up to about $2,500.
Did you pay her lawyer any money?
Yeah, and quite a lot of money. In fact, I paid her bill for the lawyer too.
You did?
Oh yeah, I have the receipt right here.
How much did you pay her lawyer?
$1,250 on one count, and then I paid $2,500 on another count.
What made you so magnanimous?
Well, you know, she kept telling me that we could work things out, and she loved me and stuff like that.
Were those criminal charges subsequently dropped, Ms. Juergens?
No, they weren't.
Did that case go to trial?
It did not. I changed my not guilty plea.
To a guilty plea?
Yeah, after 11 months.
What was your sentence?
Time served.
How long had you been incarcerated?
48 days.
What was the nature of the assault that you pled guilty to?
He alleged that I scratched him and assaulted him and battered him.
Is that right, Mr. Hager?
Yeah, I have the report with the 5 stitches that I had, if you'd like to see that.
I would. So I am correct in the time sequence in this case.
Right.
Your allegations, Ms. Juergens, that he assaulted you after he crawled through the bathroom window, and that's when you took off down the freeway. That police report was made after you were under indictment for assault. Is that right?
I was fighting my alleged charge.
Correct. Well, the alleged charge. It's no longer an alleged charge. It's a conviction.
Now it is.
How come you didn't tell me you were in his hotel room until I got the information a different way?
You didn't ask, and he asked me to go. He invited me.
This is the same man, Ms. Juergens, who you fled from one county to another to escape. You went to his hotel room alone? Goodbye, Ms. Juergens. I'm totally disinterested in your lawsuit. You have no case. That's all. Goodbye.
24-year-old Christopher Trammell is suing his stepfather-in-law, Orlando Moore, and his son, 16-year-old Kendall Barkley, for the cost to fix his Chevy Blazer.
Mr. Trammell, I assume it's this young man who is your wife's half-brother?
Yes.
And you're his father?
Yes, ma'am.
According to your complaint, this young man, whose name is?
Kendall.
Kendall, came for a visit.
Yes.
visiting his sister, and you opened your house and said, sure, he can stay with us. It was during a holiday period?
Well, the February recess.
And while he was there, without your permission, he took your car and he crashed it.
Yes.
You want his father to be responsible for the damage.
Yes, ma'am.
And his father said, you know that he's nothing but trouble and that you should have watched him more carefully.
Well.
That's his defense. Why don't you sit down for a moment, sir? I'll get to you in a minute. Kendall! Move over. Are your hands in your pockets?
No.
Perfect. How old are you?
16.
Do I make you nervous?
No.
It's unfortunate. I will try to change that. Why would your father say that you're trouble?
I am.
What do you mean you are?
Sometimes I make trouble.
You make trouble at home?
No.
Where?
On the streets.
But you've never been in trouble with the police.
No.
You're lucky. Now, why did you decide to go to visit your sister?
Because I wanted to spend time with my nephew.
I don't understand you when you're mumbling. Make believe you're outside talking to your friends.
I wanted to spend time with my nieces and nephews.
That's a good thing. How did you get there?
Chris picked me up.
Your sister's husband?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
So he's a pretty nice guy?
Yeah.
So he's a pretty nice guy?
Yeah.
So he's a pretty nice guy?
No.
Yes. Say yes.
Yes.
Do you have a driver's license?
No.
What does that mean to you when you don't have a driver's license?
Can't drive.
Tell me about when you took his car.
Well, they were sleeping when I took their car.
They were sleeping, so it was late at night.
Yes.
Where were you going?
I wanted to ride up to Wegmans.
I don't understand a word you said.
I wanted to ride to Wegmans.
Wanted to ride to Wegmans. And where did you get the keys from?
They're on the entertainment system.
So you stole the keys?
Yes.
And you stole the car?
Yes.
And what happened?
I drove up to Wegmans and I came back.
I don't hear you.
I drove up to Wegmans. I was going to park the car because my brother, he parks in a certain spot.
I don't hear you.
I drove the car to Wegmans and I came back. And then I wanted to get in the driveway. So I was parked in the wrong spot, so I had to move it. I went and moved the car and then I took off and then it hit the next door neighbor's house.
You hit the next door neighbor's house?
Yes.
What did you do?
I didn't do nothing and the cops came. So then they asked me a few questions and I answered them.
Now you can stand up. Does your son go to school?
Yes, ma'am.
Does he have a job?
No, ma'am.
Why not?
He is currently looking for employment.
Well, when was the last time he had employment?
He is 16 years old. There's only very few jobs in Rochester for a 16-year-old to do.
So let me ask you this question, sir. Who do you think is responsible for him?
To be honest, when Christopher came to my address and picked Kendall up, I figured he assumed full responsibility.
Yes, he wasn't supposed to see that anything happened to him, but let's say that your son, while he was visiting with his sister and her husband, committed a burglary. Would that have been his fault?
Yes, ma'am.
No. 16-year-old boy who's almost as big as his father knows the difference between right and wrong, and one way or another, sir, you have to teach him a lesson. And what lesson is he learning from this whole process here? He wasn't arrested.
No.
So there were no repercussions from the justice system, right?
As far as I know,
so what
yes.
lesson do you think this whole process is teaching your son?
I think he's pretty much learned his lesson. That
Why? What has he had to do as a result of this?
He's gotten most of his privileges taken away.
What privileges did he have taken away?
No computer, no...
No computer. What else?
He has his PlayStation and iPod taken away from him.
Taking away someone's iPod, sir, is not exactly punishment for destroying this man's car.
See, Kendall has an ADHD situation.
So do 40% of the children, according to statistics in this country.
Well,
they don't steal cars. They
Oh,
don't
they
steal
do.
cars.
They do.
Yeah, so do a lot of people without ADHD steal cars. You know, don't give him an excuse, Mr. Moore. You give him an excuse for doing the wrong thing, that he's ADHD, and I guarantee you, you're going to be looking for trouble forever. Forever. ADHD has nothing to do with stealing cars. He wanted to go to a store. He took the car to go to a store. He knew he had no right to take the car to go to a store. That has nothing to do with ADHD.
Well,
that has to do with doing the wrong thing.
That's the frame of mind. That's why he takes the medication, so it keeps his mind focused off of things like this.
I have 11 grandchildren, sir. I reared and helped rear 5 children. I know all about this ADHD stuff. And I know all about parents who will make excuses for their children's bad behavior and ascribe it to a learning disability. So if that's, believe me, he was focusing on getting the keys and going to the store. Believe me. You're going to pay him, and he's going to pay you. And then there is a reaction to his action. And I guarantee you, sir, that's as good as any medication he takes.
So there's...
Any medication he takes.
So there's no responsibility on his side at all?
It would be different if he threw him the keys and said, take the car and go to the store.
I wasn't there.
He just told me what happened. He waited until they went to sleep, and then he went to the entertainment center where the keys were kept, and he took the keys. He told me that. Not him. You make excuses for him, sir. You're going to find yourself before a judge much more frequently than the one time you're going to appear before me. And you give him the excuse of having ADHD for excuse for bad behavior, you are committing a terrible... It's an excuse. One thing had nothing to do with the other with regard to his taking that truck that day. And if you give him an excuse, you are parentally doing him a terrible disservice. I, however, am doing him a service. Because unless you want to be out $4,500 yourself, what you're going to do is you're going to have him get a job, and every penny that he earns he's going to give you until the $4,500 is paid off. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $4,500.
Norma Villa says her sister, Alicia Vasquez, owes for car payments, car repairs, and money loans.
Miss Villa, the defendant is your sister.
That's correct.
And some time ago, she needed a car. You agreed to take out a loan in your name.
That is correct, Your Honor.
What kind of car did she buy?
It was a 99 volts Jetta.
How much was the loan?
For $11,809, I believe.
So that was very nice of your sister. When did she take out the loan for you?
In 2003 of June.
And you made the payments on the loan?
Yes, ma'am, I have.
Until when?
Until March of 2005.
What happened in March of 2005?
I lost my job, and I was fighting an appeal for unemployment, and so I couldn't make the payments after in April and May.
That's what your lawsuit wants?
Yes.
April and May's car payment, as well as a substantial amount of money because you claim that your sister abandoned the car and destroyed it.
Yes, ma'am.
Caused a lot of damage to the car, cost you $2,000 to put the car back into shape. You are now driving the car and paying it off.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. You acknowledge that you didn't make April and May's car payment?
Yes, ma'am.
So you acknowledge that you owe that to your sister because somebody had to make it?
No, ma'am. What happened was I didn't have money to pay April and May, and she said that she would either try to help me or that if she couldn't help me in any way, then to go ahead and take the tires, because I kept telling her, what about my rims? And she said, if I can't help you, if you can't make the payment, then fork it. You know, I don't have money. And she said, I don't have money or anything, so go ahead and take the rims off.
Miss Vasquez, somebody paid April and May's car payment. It was not you.
Well, Your Honor, what happened was she didn't pay the April and May payment. Actually, she told me that the bank had reported the car stolen. So I lived with my mom.
Somebody has now made April and May's car payment if she's driving the car.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Who had the car in April?
I had the car in April.
Who had the car in May?
I did, ma'am. But
Just
I also...
a second. Listen to me. If you had the car in April and drove it, and you had the car in May and drove it, why should anybody else make the car payment for you? That was not your agreement with your sister.
Right, ma'am, but see, what happened was we were waiting for an appeal to go through for my unemployment so I can pay those payments.
I don't give a rat's behind about your appeal for unemployment. I asked you a very simple question. The very simple question was, if you drove the car in April and you drove the car in May, who should pay for the car?
Well, I should have paid for the car.
That's the answer. You drove it. You pay for it.
Well, now she's driving the car, so...
She's not asking you for anything else.
But I put a down payment on the vehicle, which was $800.
In 2003?
Yes, ma'am. But I already paid $6,000 on the vehicle.
How much a month did you pay for the car?
I paid $328 a month.
And how much do you think it would cost you to rent a car?
I have no idea, ma'am.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a homemaker now, ma'am.
Who supports you?
Unemployment.
How many children do you support?
I support 2.
Do they live with you?
One of them does.
Where does the other one live?
With his dad.
And who else lives in your home?
My husband.
And what does he do for a living?
He's unemployed.
Why?
Because it's been hard for him to find a job because he doesn't have documents.
Well, so you always ask one question too many. Do you have documents?
Yes, ma'am. I'm a U.S. citizen.
Then you have to work.
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. And take care of your baby.
That's what he did.
Good. But you both can't stay home?
Right. Now, well, I just
then
finished my
stick your sister with your car payment, because if you're both not working, you don't even need a car. If you're sitting around doing nothing, then you don't need a car.
But we had made an agreement, because I had told her, we had made an agreement, me and her had made an agreement to where, because she knew that I couldn't make the payments, and she had agreed that she would wait for me to go to court and then go ahead and just pay the car payment even if it was late. We had made the agreement, me and her.
That's incorrect, Your Honor. Does not make any sense.
What do you do for a living, Ms. Fia?
I'm a team manager for a well-known company.
And you have children?
I have 4.
You support them?
I do.
Do they live with you?
They do.
Anybody else live in your house other than your 4 children?
My husband.
Does he work?
Yes, he does.
What kind of work does he do?
He's a manager for a contracting company.
Makes a good living?
Yes, he does.
You own a home?
I own 2, ma'am.
Have mortgages?
Yes.
Have cars?
Yes.
Have car payments?
Yes.
See what I mean? That, Miss Vasquez, is the American dream.
Well, that's my American dream someday.
Do you understand? You can't stay home in your house,
right,
hoping the American dream will find you.
Right.
And you can't encumber anybody else with your problems.
I understand, ma'am, but I was fighting an appeal at the time, and that's
You
why...
already told me that 3 times. You don't visit that on your sister. Now, how much was each car payment?
They're $328 plus the late delinquency.
And what was the late fee?
I have a breakdown if you need that.
Yeah.
And then I have photos. I don't know if you need them, but they're the damages.
I want to see the damage that you allege to the car.
And the house that you see there in that photo is my defendant's witness's mom's house. So what a coincidence for that one.
You told us to leave the car there.
No. Be truthful. You just got
No.
sworn in.
Shh. Did you take the wheels off this car?
They're my tires. She told me that it was okay to do that,
The car was not given to her like
She
that.
told me days before that there was insurance on the vehicle before she was mad and angry and did all this. And she told me I had told her, well, Norma, I haven't went to court yet for my unemployment to pay.
No.
I'm being honest.
Listen, I want you to let her speak. Do you understand? Okay. And I don't want you to interrupt her again.
Okay.
Keep going.
She told me that I told her to ask the bank if she can tell the bank that the money was, lost in the mail.
So you asked her,
yes,
to lie to the bank.
I asked her. Yes, ma'am.
That the check was in the mail.
Yes.
When it really wasn't in the mail.
Right.
So you lied. And you wanted her to lie.
And she did.
Just a second. And according to you, she lied for you.
She said that she was going to tell the bank that that it was lost in the mail, and by that time I should have my money to go, so I could go ahead and pay the payments with the late fee.
Okay. So you asked her to lie for you, and she did lie for you.
Right.
And then when it came time for you to send the money, you still didn't send it.
No, what happened was days after that, she said that the bank had reported the car stolen. And she called my mom. She wouldn't talk to me no more. She called my mom, and she told my mom the car was reported stolen. I'd be taken out by gunpoint and to leave the car. So I lived with my mom. She could have went and picked up. She didn't have to do all this. She could have went and picked the car up at my mom's house. The car was never moved again until that she told my sister-in-law on the phone to leave it somewhere where the police can find it, which I don't understand. And she had told me way before all this happened to take the rims off if she couldn't make the payment. That's the honest truth, Your Honor. That now for the inside is not damaged. What happened is I've had that car for 2 years. I do have a daughter, and the inside of the vehicle, of course, is going to get dirty, but it's not demolished.
Just because you have a daughter doesn't mean that a car has to look like this.
Well, it's the interior, ma'am. It's the interior. When my daughter, sometimes she got car sick, she'd throw up, and we would clean it with, when you clean the car, it stains.
Well, then let me ask you a question. Who's supposed to take care of that now that you no longer have the car?
Well, I was...
Just a second.
Yes, ma'am.
Who's supposed to take care of it? The bank?
I am.
Right! There you go! Now, my next question to you. This nothing is my responsibility. When you put new rims on the car, what did you do with the old ones?
The old rims stayed at the dealer where I got the tires at.
Well, that's your problem. Because if you put something new on the car that you wanted to take back, then it was your responsibility to put back the original ones.
But my sister told me to do that.
I don't believe you! She's a responsible, reliable person who has a job, and she has a husband who is employed, and she supports a household with 4 children, and she has 2 homes and 2 mortgages and car payments of her own, and she doesn't seem to be making excuses that not anything is my fault.
I'm not saying nothing's
Pay
my
careful
fault.
attention.
Yes, ma'am.
If you take out a radio and you put in a more expensive one, and then you have to send back the car to the company because you can't afford it, you don't leave it with no radio. You put back the original one. You don't leave it like this.
She told me to leave it like that,
I don't believe you.
She told me to leave the car on brakes and to take my rims off of it. Honest to truth. Tell
Makes
her.
sense.
Tell the truth.
Makes sense.
Tell the truth, sis.
No,
Makes sense.
just don't speak to each other. I don't believe that she said it to you. Even if she did say it to you, then if you're a grown-up, you say, look, I've had this car for 2 years. If I can't get the wheels that were originally on the car, I'm just going to have to take the loss and leave the ones that are on the car because somebody is going to be penalized for this. It's not going to be you because your name isn't anywhere on the paperwork. It's got to be the person whose name is on the paperwork. That's her.
That's probably why she told me there was insurance on the car and to do that.
Listen, I want you to get a copy of my book. It's a book that I wrote a long time ago. Beauty fades, dumb is forever. I'm trying to educate you.
Yes, ma'am.
You won't let it happen. When you do things in life, you're supposed to accept responsibility.
I accept the responsibility that I took the tires because they were mine.
No,
I
you
was
accept
told
responsibility that you took the tires, but you don't want to pay for it. That's the responsibility. You said, of course I took them.
Well, I did a down payment on the car. I put $800 in the car. She's driving the car. She's saying that it was demolished, that it didn't work. I mean,
Madam,
that doesn't make any sense.
Listen to me.
That should cover my $800.
When you buy a car, any car, new or used, as soon as you drive the car out of a showroom, it depreciates. Do you understand that? That requires a simple yes or no.
Yes, ma'am.
So when you put $800 down on the car and you drove the car out of the showroom, you lost your $800. Do I make myself clear?
Mm-hmm.
You don't get that back. Your car didn't appreciate in value because your daughter vomited on the back seat. Do I make myself clear?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, now let's get to this $315 rent check.
She was in the process of getting evicted, and she needed money. She couldn't get any money
This
from
is in
anywhere.
April. This is when she stopped paying for the car as well, in April.
Correct.
Well, tell me about it.
I didn't want her to lose a roof over her head. And
Tell me about the conversation. Where did it take place?
She called me and asked me over the phone at work and asked me if I can please lend her the money. Her husband's going to get work or she's going to get unemployment or whatever the case is. Can I please lend her $315 so that she can pay the eviction so that they won't evict her?
Okay,
But
she acknowledges that you gave her that money. When did you pay her back?
In June when I got, I had to get on cash aid.
You went on welfare?
Yes, because I had to move, Your Honor, to Santa Rosa.
Welfare gave you a lump sum check?
No, they gave me like a cash aid.
For how much?
It was like $380 something.
And you took that whole $300 and gave it to your sister?
Yes, ma'am.
So what did you do for money?
I had to go stay with my mom temporarily, so the $80 that I had, that's in the food stamps that they had gave me.
Did she give you back the $300?
She didn't, Your Honor.
Of course not. It doesn't make sense that you got $380 from welfare, and after this major to-do that you had with your sister where you were annoyed with her about the car, and she said she may help you out with the payments, and you turned the car over to your sister, who was then very angry with you because the car was destroyed in the interior and didn't have any wheels at all and was up on blocks, that you paid her back the $300 that you owed her, saving only $80 for yourself. It doesn't make sense. You owe your sister $1,500. That's what you owe it reasonably to put the car back into condition and for this loan that you did not pay back. And I suggest that you and or your husband find some way of earning a living. You made a baby, you gotta get a job. That's all.
Kashmir Bigda says the fiancé of his child's mother, Justin Hellinger, punched him out at work. Justin is countersuing for child support costs and for false charges made to CPS.
You're welcome.
Mr. Bigda, how old are you, sir?
I'm 28 years old, Your Honor.
Is this your wife?
Yes, ma'am.
How long have you been married?
We've been married for roughly 3 years, almost 4.
You have children
Yes,
with her?
ma'am. I have 2 by my wife, Your Honor.
Your complaint says, sir, that the defendant is the boyfriend of the mother of another of your children. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Were you married to your wife at the time that this child was conceived?
Yes, I was, Your Honor.
How old is the child that you have with, what's your name?
Selena.
Selena.
She just turned 2, Your Honor.
And this is your complaint, Mr. Bigda. Your complaint is that the defendant assaulted you.
Yes, sir.
And in addition, you claim that you made a small loan to him to cover some insurance payment that he needed. Mr. Hellinger says that you precipitated this argument, and in addition, he is counterclaiming. He alleges that you called Child Protective Services on him on more than one occasion, and in addition, he says that he's been supporting your child, correct?
Yes.
How much child support do you pay, Mr. Bigda?
I paid $36 weekly, court ordered.
Do you pay it every week?
Yes, I do, ma'am. It's taken directly out of my paycheck, Your Honor.
And how much is your paycheck, sir?
My paycheck, it ranges anywhere from $300 to $600, depending on how many hours I work.
Then why do you only pay $36 a week in child support? Put your hand down.
Because that's what the court had ordered, because I have 2 other children and a wife. My wife does not work, so I have...
Why doesn't your wife work?
Because she stays home and takes care of our 2-year-old.
You have another 2-year-old? You are very busy, sir.
Yes, Your Honor.
Why don't you work and earn $600 a week all the time, Mr. Bigda?
Because the paper mill doesn't always have overtime. Some weeks you might work 12-hour days. Some days you just work 8 hours. It varies if we have people that call in or...
Yes.
I worked at the same paper mill, and overtime's always welcome. I left that job because of him. Right now I'm currently climbing trees. So,
For a living?
Yes, I cut trees down. I work for a tree service.
Oh, you cut trees down. You said I climb trees. I
so
said I
when-
didn't know that you could make a living doing that.
So when he says that the overtime ain't there, it is always there at that mill. I work there. I also put in tons of hours.
Mr. Bigda, it's outrageous that you only pay $36 a week in child support, sir. I'm telling you that right now. Even if you pay it, she wants to tell me that you don't even pay it. But if you paid it, that's an outrageous figure for you to pay for child support. It's not your child's fault, sir, that you didn't know how to keep your whatever in your pants. That's outrageous. What?
Sorry, I only received $26 out of that 36. 10 of it goes to the Department of Social Services towards arrears.
Yes.
And the rear support is actually medical bills for Mrs. Catterette for having the baby. It's not rear.
No. It's not medical bills for her, sir. It's the birthing expenses for your child. Because when you make a baby, it has to be born.
Yes, that's what
right? Put your hand down. I don't know why you still tolerate him. Yeah, I'd be visiting him, and bringing flowers. Now, I'm ready to hear, sir, your tale of woe.
On the beginning of January 2007, I had recommended Justin, because he had not had a job for a while, to the paper mill that I worked at, and they had hired him. And on January 18th, I had loaned the defendant $50 to get his car insured so he could get to and from work. 2 days later, I had also loaned him another $20 so he would have gas money. And at that current time, I was out on disability due to my hand. I had to have carpal tunnel surgery on hand. And during that time, things were going good. I had come back to work roughly the end of February. And at the end of February...
So you weren't paid for the entire month of February?
I was paying. I had support reduced, and it was I'm all caught up as we speak.
What'd you have it reduced to? How could they reduce it any lower?
Because it was reduced because I was only bringing home $230 a week due to disability. I have proof of what I had loaned him.
Get on to the... So far, I hear $70, sir.
All right.
$70 from your $26 a week that you pay in child support, not $36. $10 goes for arrears. You acknowledge that. So you pay $26 a week, which is less than $100 a month. You want me to translate that by day, sir? Let me translate that. $26 a week divided by 7 equals $3.71 a day. That's what you pay. Let's move on.
Also, when I had returned back to work on February 26th, Justin Hellinger had assaulted me several times.
Well, I want you to tell me what happened. What's the basis of your claim, sir? Let's hear it.
Pretty much what happened is I try to see my daughter whenever I can, and he does not want me to see my daughter, and he tries to control when I can and when I can't. And he had told me if I call to have any contact, he'd kill me and bury me. On the night of January 13th, Mr. Hellinger had come down to my part of the plant where he should not have been and started having verbal words with me. He told me that he was going to beat me up, and I didn't want to have any time of problem, so I went to turn around, and when I turned around, he had closed his fist and hit me on the left side of my head, 2 centimeters from my temple, and I was taken to the hospital by the employers. I have hospital statements showing...
I'd like to see those, please. Okay. Now, Mr. Hellinger, I'd like you to tell me your version of what happened on the 13th, please.
The bathroom is downstairs in the mill, so I was going down to the bathroom. There's 2 flights of stairs. I went down one flight, he went down the other. We intercepted each other in the middle. It's about a 10, 15-foot hallway. I confronted him about what he was doing to me, why he was calling my house at midnight.
Just a second. When you say you confronted him, what did you say to him?
I said, Cashmere, why do you keep calling my house at midnight, harassing me and my family?
When did he call your house at midnight? Put your hand down!
It was probably the beginning of January when all this
How many times did he call your house at midnight?
Oh, several.
Who did he speak to?
Her or me when I was there.
What did he say to you when he called at midnight?
Asked how I was doing and if Justin was being good, if I was doing all right and everything was all right between us. Pretty much wanted to know about my relationship with Justin.
Did you ever tell him not to call your house at midnight?
Justin has several times.
Why did you call their house at midnight?
I personally didn't. My wife did. My wife and Selena were good friends, and Selena had asked my wife to call so they could just talk about our child and other things. They were friends, and Mr. Hellinger does not like her wife. So she would ask my wife to call late at night when Justin went to work.
I'm asking you, sir.
I personally
have
I have personally never called his house after 10 o'clock. My wife had always done the calling for me because he would not allow me to call.
For you?
He would not allow me to call.
When your wife called, did you ever get on the phone?
There's been a few times.
When your wife, just the answer is either yes or no. When your wife placed the call, did you ever get on the phone?
Yes.
That's what he's complaining about. Do you get it?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so you confronted him about the calls that were coming to your house being made by his wife, but then the phone being turned over to the plaintiff.
Yes.
And what happened next?
He got a little irate, got loud with me.
No. Tell me what he said.
He can do anything he wants. It's his kid. And if he wants to be with Selena, he can be with her anytime he wants because he can just take her out to the bar and do what he wants to her. And
Put your hand down.
It made me grumpy.
Made you grumpy?
Yes, very grumpy.
Well, probably mildly
He
made you
slandered
grumpy.
me. He slandered me through the whole mill, told the mill all my business, told the mill, a lot of the people I worked with, that I was beating her and the kid. I confronted him about that too. He started to come at me, and at that time I just pushed through with him. And I don't know if I hit him in the head or not, but I did.
Well, you did hit him in the head, sir.
I had an open hand. I never closed my hand when I hit him because he's handicapped. I would not hit a handicapped person.
Okay, now I'll hear you.
Yes, Your Honor. I had made a report to the police. He was arrested. I have the arrest,
I'd like
and
to
there
see it.
was.
Now you can stand up.
And I have told people about Justin at the mill, and the reason why I did that is because I fear for my daughter's welfare. That's why I keep persisting. He's a registered 2 sex offender, and it is on the website for everybody to see. I fear for my little girl's life, and so
Yes.
I want.
I've been with this little girl for 2 years. My officer said it's fine. I have 2 children of my own. I also get every other weekend. Being around his daughter is no problem to me. I'm not dangerous to anybody. What I've done in my past was my business. The fact, yes, it is. I am registered, but it don't affect my life at all. I have a good job. I work around several 100,000 people a day. I go to people's homes.
Did your prior conviction involve children?
No, it did not. It involved an underage girl, which I did not know her name, or her age, I should say.
How old are you now?
I am
Put
24.
your hand down!
I am 24.
24. And when was this conviction?
2 years ago?
2 years ago when you were 22.
Yes.
And how old was the girl?
16.
Got it. Fine. Not fine legally, but that's a totally different scenario than pedophilia. That's just dumb.
Understood.
And you have too many children, sir, at age 24. If you
I
have 3
understand.
children.
Yes.
You too. I don't care how many trees you climb, and I don't care how much pulp you make. Now, you want to say something to me?
The phone calls that were made to Selena were me returning calls and her returning my calls. He did not take the phone every time, only once in a great while.
Listen, he took the phone more than once. Madam, I don't even have to be there to know that he took the phone
yes,
more
he
than
did.
once. Right. Anything else you want to say?
Just that the support issue, we give them money on the side to above what the court orders. We also buy Davina's clothes, Davina's diapers, her wipes, her shoes. And when we do send them home...
Show me receipts.
Right here, where I
Show
spend
me.
at Walmart off of my bank card.
Show me.
There's a few. There's Walmart there, where we've spent $502 to buy clothes, diapers, wipes, food.
What about for
And it's all
whose
through
children?
that. For his daughter.
Not for your children?
No, not at that point, no. I buy her
Baloney.
things separately.
Baloney. I don't believe a word of what you... Sit down. You think that I believe that you went and spent $500 on his daughter and none of
No,
that...
some of it was on his daughter. Not all.
Now, that's better.
I'm sorry,
Some
it was
of it
my
was...
mistake.
You made a mistake.
Yes, I did. I'm sorry.
What?
Also, I fear for my child because last summer roughly June or July. The defendant was also arrested because his girlfriend Selena had left him, and he rolled his car trying to kill himself on purpose. And he had a suicide message left on my machine. I didn't bring that with me today.
Yes.
The fact that I tried to kill myself has nothing to do with
Yes,
his
it does.
child. I was not with him.
Yes,
I got help.
To me. Listen to me. That's a legitimate concern.
I understand it is.
Okay? That's a legitimate concern. If you have suicidal thoughts, that's one thing. If you act out those suicidal thoughts and you are around the child, that's a legitimate concern that a parent might have. You get it?
Yep.
Now, I assume that formed the basis of at least one of the calls to Child Protective Services.
No, it did not.
Did it?
Yes, it did.
How many times did you call Child Protective Services?
3 times.
Tell me about the 3 times.
The one time was when he rolled his car, and Selena, the mother of my child, was worried, so we got together and had called. The second time was when he called my house going irate, and he threatened to kill me and bury me and told me I could not see my child, so I was very concerned about the welfare of my daughter. And the third time was due to him stalking and calling me names and stuff. He had even stooped low. He had convinced his girlfriend to go to the police and report that I had raped her. That's how our daughter was conceived. And the police had come to my house, and she was filed for making a false report and is under community service for trying to have me arrested.
Is that correct?
Yes, it is, Your Honor.
Okay. That's not good. That's not good.
I was highly intoxicated the night that me and Kashmir, conceived my daughter.
So?
I don't remember any of it, and it was not a coerced thing. I went to the police department on my own.
How much after your daughter was born?
6 months, maybe.
So you had 9 months and 6 months? You had 15 months to think about it?
I was not.
Okay. Mr. Hellinger, he was clearly assaulted, and you clearly lost your temper. So you have to be responsible for his medical bills.
Your Honor.
What?
I have a unfounded paper from Social Services January 30th that he called on me where I was unfounded.
Yeah, that's okay. He has legitimate concerns about you. Are you getting any help for yourself?
Yes, I am.
Good. You seeing somebody regularly?
Yes, I do.
Put your hand down. Listen, if you think that I find you a sympathetic character, I do not. You were disloyal to your wife. You created a situation that she's going to have to live with and suffer with her whole life if she decides to stay with you. She has 2 children with you. I guarantee you the day that you told her that you had another child the same age as your youngest child was not the happiest day of her life. So if you think that I believe that you're a sympathetic character, I believe that you are an unsympathetic character, sir. As far as the money that you claim you gave him, that hardly makes up for the amount of money he contributes to support your child. So he's going to pay your medical bills, which are roughly $500. Unfortunately, Mr. Hellinger, you want to be compensated for supporting his child. That's your prerogative. If you choose to do that, you do that gratuitously.
That ain't a big problem to me, the harassment.
Fine. And as far as calling, some of your behavior, sir, is questionable. And I suggest to you, I would continue with the help that you're getting because you probably need it. What?
I also have proof that I lost wages.
I don't care if you lost wages.
When he
Make up for it for the $26 a week that you send to support your child, or $3.71 a day. I'm telling you, sir, you are an unsympathetic person to me. I think that you would like to have control over this situation that you created. Were you drunk the night that she got pregnant?
No, I was not.
Was she?
Yes.
You know how unsympathetic you are? The scale of sympathy for me just went to a -10. So she was drunk, you weren't. You clearly then took advantage of somebody. That a fair statement?
Yes, Your Honor.
So he's going to cover your medical bills, period. It's your $500. What a situation you created, sir. You created this whole situation. I know, because she was drunk. How old are you?
23.
And you?
28.
Goodbye, sir. You get your medical bills. Try to live with each other in peace.
Parties are excused. Step out.
Carrie Van Druff is suing her ex-boyfriend, Brian Dodds, for money loaned when he fell on hard times. Brian says Carrie offered him the money.
Byrd, I have a couple of questions for you. Would you say that 100 times as many women loan money to men in our experience as the other way around?
At least.
I don't understand why women are always loaning money to men. I don't get it. They're supposed to be bigger. They're supposed to be stronger. They're supposed to be the hunters. They're supposed to be king of the jungle. And they're always walking around with their hand out. What I still don't understand is, I've asked the women over and over again, why do you want to give this guy money? You know? And I'm not able to get an answer, but what I'm going to try to do from now on is to get the answers from men who look as if they're ordinary guys. Why did you take money from her, Mr. Dodds?
Your Honor, at the time, it was the case that I was very, very short.
Why were you short?
I went through a pretty nasty divorce, and my ex-wife was taking me to court about every other week, and my lawyer was just killing me in fees. And at the time, I mean, it was coming up to Christmas time, everything. I was extremely short-handed of cash. That's all there is to it.
What do you mean it was coming up to Christmas? What does the time of year have to do with it?
I've got 2 daughters. I was really concerned how Christmas was going to turn out.
So you wanted to buy Christmas presents for your daughter, so you borrowed money?
No, that's not what happened, Your Honor. She knew that I was short of cash, and she just straight out just offered it, and I did refuse it, that no, I couldn't ask that of you. And she said, that's what friends do, and I'd like to do that for you. And it was with reluctance that I took it. I'm not one that likes to take handouts.
How long after that, Mr. Dodds, did you and the plaintiff stop seeing each other?
Maybe 2 months.
Was that a mutual decision or your decision?
It was my decision to stop seeing her.
Well, if it was your decision and you're a moral person, because clearly you were worried about your daughters coming up and not having Christmas presents in December, why didn't you start to pay her back?
Shortly after I told her that, we were going to stop seeing each other.
Did you just tell her, or did you send her a letter?
I sent her an email, I believe, actually, and I kind of explained to her.
That wasn't until February.
Go ahead.
And I explained to her why, decided not to see her anymore. And
right.
And it was just shortly thereafter that she became very, very nasty, and she accused me of giving her an S. So it really concerned me. So I started going to different doctors, and I had some tests done to make sure that that was not the case. I was pretty concerned about that. So now I've got doctor bills that I have incurred because of her being spiteful or vindictive or whatever reason.
So in the email where you explained that you were breaking up with her, Mr. Dodds, did you say to her, and I know that I took some money from you, and I know it wasn't a loan at the time, but I consider it my moral obligation to give you the money back, so I'm going to start sending it to you. Was that included in your email?
I don't recall. At the time...
Let's say no.
No.
Let's say it wasn't included in your email. Now, how do you think that that made her feel? She gets this email from you after she's given you this money because she was a good friend, and she insisted on helping you out so that your girls would have a Christmas. And then you send her this Dear John email, because we're living in the 21st century. And the email has nothing to do with her $510. So she gets vindictive and nasty. That's what women do. That's what they do. You're lucky all your pants aren't cut in half. Ms. Vandrow.
Yes.
You have 10 seconds to convince me that this was a loan and not, I want to help you because you're my friend. And if you want to say, I can't do it, I'm more than willing to hear it. I have humiliated him sufficiently. What's your pleasure?
Well, first of all this started about the same day that I did give him the money. He made a down payment on some land as well. Now, my problem is why in the world did he make a down payment on land if he couldn't afford his rent?
When did you find out about that?
I believe it was the same day or just before I gave him the check.
And you continued to date him?
Unfortunately.
You continued to share his home with him for a while.
I wasn't living with him.
I don't care whether you were living with him or not. You get my drift,
yes.
madam?
Yes.
That's also what women do. They'll make excuses. They'll go through all kinds of mental gymnastics to justify bad behavior. So, you've had your 10 seconds and you haven't convinced me that this was a loan.
I don't feel it was a loan.
It wasn't. It was a gift.
I mean, I gave him the money, and I did want to go ahead and help him, but he did send me an email stating that he would repay it.
Oh, let me see that. I would, listen, I would love to, in addition to humiliating him, give you a judgment.
And so if it was not a loan, why would he send me the email?
Oh, fine. Wednesday, April 20th. I will also be paying you back. If it's in installments, that's the best I can do right now. That's what you said to her.
Yes, ma'am, that's right. At that
So?
time, I'd tell her just about anything just to get her off my back.
Fine. Well, that's great. Well, that's what you told her. You said, I'd be paying you back even in installments. So you didn't start?
No, ma'am, as far as I'm concerned, I don't owe her that money.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $510. You acknowledged the debt, sir. You said paying you back. That's all. Step out.
Jonathan Kwasniewski claims he was an uninvited guest at a party when he was attacked by Luke Archibek and his friends. Jonathan says his jaw was broken and he was knocked out cold.
Mr. Kwasniewski, it is your claim that the defendant assaulted you at a house party. He says he did not assault you. He knows that you were injured. He doesn't know how that happened. He certainly knows it wasn't him. When and where was this party?
It was on March 25th, 26th. I'm not sure where it was at.
What do you mean you're not sure where it was at?
Well, I don't know the cross streets where it was at. It was in Arvada, Colorado.
Who took you there?
My brother, he got a call from our friend Joel that there was a party going on, and sure enough, a bunch of guys not having anything to do, we decided to go.
So you weren't invited by the people who were throwing the party?
Yes.
And as far as you know, none of your group was invited. You just were told that there was a party, and you showed up?
Yes.
How many of you showed up?
4, including myself.
And where had you been before?
We were at a buddy's house just hanging out, playing pool.
Drinking?
No, his parents were there. We were just hanging out, looking for something to do.
So you got there about 11:30. And how many people were at the party when you got there?
Roughly 40, 35 maybe.
Were you introduced to the people who were throwing the party?
Not necessarily people who were throwing the party, but who, were just there already.
Do you know who was throwing the party?
I don't.
Who would that be, Mr. Archibek?
It was actually my friend Scott Hodges. It was his birthday party at the time, and there was actually more like about 100 people there, and there was plenty of alcohol, and everybody was intoxicated at the time.
Why don't you not volunteer information that I didn't ask for, sir?
Sorry, ma'am.
I know you want to get it all out. I do things in a very orderly, organized fashion.
Yes, ma'am.
Got it?
Got it.
So it was your friend whose party?
Scott Hodges.
Scott Hodges. You see, if you just concentrated on answering my question, I would have understood you.
Yes, ma'am. Sorry.
Did you know who Scott Hodges was?
No, ma'am.
Who were you?
Friend.
Did you know who Scott Hodges was?
No, ma'am.
How old was Scott Hodges?
He just turned 21 at the time.
And this was at his parents' house?
Yes, ma'am.
And they were in or out?
They were indisposed at the time. They were not in.
They weren't
Well,
indisposed.
they're out, yeah. I'm sorry.
They weren't home?
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
Okay, so tell me what happened when you got there, sir.
We get there and we see that there's hardly any alcohol left, none at all. So we're, wanting to entertain ourselves, just talking around, meeting new people. And I'm just sitting there and I'm talking to this one fella, Corey. And, I'm talking to him, he has a big scar on his face. He said he got hit with a bat, so conversation goes on. He sees my friend Jeff and his twin brother. And he says, I know you guys that jumped my friend. And he started getting, worked up. So I'm saying, hey, Corey, just, relax, just, pat him on the back. Next thing, he pushes me off and says, get the F off me. So I'm like, whoa, okay. So as soon as that happens, the whole crowd looks at me like I did something wrong. Almost as if I punched him in the face, just out of nowhere. So the whole crowd looks at me with just everybody staring at me, just wanting to beat me up. And I turn around and some kid hits me in the face, just punches me in the face. And I'm standing there like, what in the heck is going on? And Jeff comes up and says, Quas, no, don't mess around with this because we're outnumbered. It's like 4 of us and
100
of them. Okay, and so I'm like, okay, some guy gets in my face, talks crap, I don't do anything. I say, I'm sorry. Another kid gets in my face, says, well, you're gonna pay for what you did. I was like, I didn't do anything, Another kid gets in my face, blah, blah, blah. Next thing I know is I'm getting helped up and I don't remember anything. And when I came to, I was missing my shoes, my face hurt, I don't even remember what happened. I barely even remember jumping the fence because we were trying to get away from those guys.
Okay, so you ended up, according to your complaint, in an emergency room. Do you have the emergency room records?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to take a look at them, please. You have a police report?
Yes.
I'd like to take a look at that, too. Anybody arrested for this assault?
No.
You were there with 2 brothers.
My brother and his brother.
What's your name, sir?
Jeff.
Jeff what?
Gerber.
Stand up, sir. When, for the first time, sir, did you speak to the police?
I spoke to the police about 4 days afterwards, after this happened.
And what prompted you to speak to the police 4 days afterwards?
They had called me. He went into the doctor's the day after, and he filed the police report then, so I was just waiting for them to contact me so I can give my side of the story.
And when you spoke to the police, what did you tell them, Jeff?
I told them that we went to a party where there was drinking and there was people.
Did you drink?
No, we were only there for about 10 minutes before this happened.
Mm-hmm.
And we
But
were...
everybody else was drinking because there was no alcohol left by the time you got there.
Yeah, it was a party, so there was about 100 people, like he said.
Well, I just said that when he got there, the alcohol was all gone, which
Yeah.
means everybody was pretty well loaded.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
And as we were sitting in the back porch of the house, and Corey is the one that had started talking to me about a previous fight that I had been in about a year before that even happened with one of his friends, and tried to get all huff and puffy and tough, and started cussing and saying all sorts of stuff. And then, you know, he challenged me to fight him, and then he had challenged John here to fight him out on the back of the lawn, and pretty much everybody heard that and just started coming outside and what's going on, what's going on? And then I had seen John here get punched by a kid, I believe his name was Scott.
Okay, so he got punched by a guy named Scott.
He got punched by a guy named Scott, and then I told John here to just lay off. We don't want to get, you know, jumped here. And then just every kid thought we were out to get him, so they were just, every kid was getting in our faces. And then I looked to my right, I'm standing like with my back towards the building, the house, and I looked to my right, and John here gets sucker punched. He wasn't looking, he was facing forward, while Luke here ran up next to him from his right and sucker punched him in his face.
When was the first time you met Luke?
That night.
Never seen him before?
Never.
When for the first time that evening had you seen Luke?
Right after he punched him.
So you had not seen him before that evening?
Mm-mm.
That was the first time you saw him? And when was the next time you saw him?
Here.
When you were interviewed by the police 4 days later, you told them that you could identify the person who
They didn't
assaulted
even ask me that. They already knew it was Luke.
Don't tell me what the police knew. I'm looking at the police reports, and I don't see anything about Luke here.
They,
What?
Ma'am, I was never contacted by any
Shh. You mean you spoke to the police? Did they come to your house?
Oh, they had called me on my cell phone.
Called you on your cell phone? Did you give them the number?
For him?
Yes. Why did you give them the number?
Because he was there, he was a witness.
And so I assume that you wanted the police to locate the person who caused this injury to you.
I would have loved to, except I didn't know who had punched
But
him.
the reason you gave the police Jeff's number is because you wanted the police to find the person who had hurt you.
Yes, ma'am.
And Jeff knew the person who had hurt you, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Jeff tells me that when he spoke to the police, he didn't tell them the name of the person who hurt you because they didn't ask him. Is that what you're telling me?
Correct.
Well, what questions did they ask you, Jeff?
They asked me exactly who and what happened. I gave them my side of the
Just a
story.
second. So you said who and what happened. Just like I did. What did you see and what did you do? You just told me that you saw this young man who you've identified as Luke throw the sucker punch at your friend.
Well,
Right? That's what you just told me. Why were you keeping that a secret from the police?
I didn't keep it a secret. I didn't know his name. How I found out his name is that I have a buddy that knows of him, and he had contacted them somehow and found out that his name was Luke. And that's how we all know. And I recognized him once I saw him. Yeah, that's the kid that punched him.
So what you're telling me is 4 days later, you didn't tell the police that you could identify the person who punched him.
I could identify him.
And the police asked you nothing else?
They asked me his name. They didn't ask me what he looked like because obviously he'd be wearing something different 4 days later.
I'm not talking about what he was wearing, sir. This happened 9 months ago. And the first time you've seen him, after you saw him for a moment at this party, 9 months ago, was here in court. And for how long did you see him? You saw him for the first time when he punched your friend. Is that right? You saw him run away.
What had happened is that after I saw him punch him, I had rushed up to him and pushed him off, pushed him away, and then that's how his image of his face stuck in my head, and that's when everybody started jumping, me, my brother, and his brother.
Okay. On your own 2 feet, sir.
Yes, ma'am. What happened was I was downstairs and I was drinking and everything, and yes, my friend Corey was with me at the time, and we were downstairs.
This is Corey?
Yes, ma'am.
You're the Corey?
No, different Corey. No, not that Corey. But we were downstairs and we were drinking and everything like that, and then this girl comes downstairs and tells me that everyone's fighting out back and that Scott called for some people to come break it up. So we run upstairs, and by the time I get up there, everybody's already fighting. Like I said, it was not me who threw the punch and everything. It was actually my friend that I consort with, and actually that's how I think they know me, is through my friend because we look alike, but no, it was not me.
Oh, so you know who hit him?
Well, yes.
You know who hit him?
Yes, kind of. Like...
No.
Yeah.
Listen to me. So you look very much like him.
Yes, ma'am.
What's his name?
Brian.
Brian what? Look at me. And how do you know that Brian hit him?
Just word around.
Did you tell that? Look at me. Did you tell that to the police?
No, ma'am. Like I said, I've never came in contact with any police officers.
You know the name Brian?
No, ma'am.
You don't? No. Well, you didn't know anybody at this party. No. You just showed up. Very stupid. You're the other Corey.
Yes, ma'am.
What's your last name?
Clendenning.
Were you downstairs drinking?
I was actually downstairs, not drinking, but yes, I was there.
Tell me what you observed when you went upstairs.
Just a lot of people out back scuffling around, grabbing each other, swinging. It was pretty hectic.
You know this person, Brian?
Yes, I know of him.
You know of him?
Yeah.
Was he at the party?
Yes.
Did you see him up there during the scuffle?
Yes.
Did you see the plaintiff assaulted?
I saw him down when I was outside. When I came out, he was already down.
Did you come up from the basement with the defendant?
I was probably 5 feet behind him.
So you came up together?
Yes, ma'am.
And when you came up together, the plaintiff was already on the ground?
From what it looks like, yes. I mean, there were so many people, and it was him. There was Jeff Lance, which is Jeff's twin brother.
So you know them?
Yes.
How old are you, sir?
20 years old.
What do you do for a living?
I used to work at Lucky Strikes. Now I work for a Quires Brewing Company.
Did you have a lot to drink that night?
I didn't drink at all because I was with my girlfriend. She's kind of judgmental and all that.
I believe you. Anything else you want to tell me?
Yeah. Why would all my friends and his friends tell me that it's him that hit me and not Brian?
Let me explain something to you, sir. That's hearsay.
Right, but Jeff can recognize Luke. Jeff punched Luke in the face.
You have to make a determination when you sit as a fact finder as to whether or not 9 months later, after glimpsing at somebody for a second during a fight, you can make an identification. And I have to be very satisfied, even though this is a civil proceeding, that if I'm going to find somebody guilty of assaulting you, I'm going to find the right person guilty of assaulting you. So what do we have? We have clearly you were injured. Your jaw was wired up?
Yes.
You were pretty well knocked around? There's no question that somebody during that fight, either one person or more than one person, got the best of you.
Yeah.
No question about that. But you don't know who it was.
Well,
you don't know who it was.
Ma'am, he did the same exact thing to his best friend a month later. Ask him. Go ahead.
I'm not asking him. I don't have his best friend here. This is not a free-for-all. This is not a one-stop shopping. What you have, sir, is a case where you say this young man assaulted you. He may have. But what I'm telling you is, sir, if this is your friend and your friend found out the name of the person who assaulted you 4 or 5 months later, which then his responsibility is to call the police and say, I found out the name of the person. This is his name, because you have a serious assault. Police would have taken him into custody, put him in a lineup, and said, can you pick out the person who you claim committed? It's not an appropriate lineup. 9 months later, when you come into court, and there's one person standing in the defendant's spot, and your friend 9 months later says, well, now I remember. I saw him for a moment 9 months ago, and that's the person. That doesn't give me a secure feeling about saying to him, you're the person who assaulted the plaintiff. Do you understand? Good. Case is dismissed. That's all.
Jason Massey claims next-door neighbor Sandra Moten damaged his SUV when she backed out of her driveway.
Mr. Massey, you and the defendant share a common driveway. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And according to your complaint, on the 30th of October, you were watching out the window of your house, and you saw the defendant backing out of her driveway. Your car was parked there, and she hit your car with the mirror of her car. Is that right?
That's correct.
What time of the day was this?
4 in the afternoon.
And you and the defendant have had difficulties in the past. Is that right?
That's correct.
How long have you lived in your house?
I purchased my house in May of 2001.
And how long have you lived there?
1989.
What was the problem, Mr. Massey?
When I purchased my house in May of 2001, the lady I purchased my house from warned me that they
Don't tell me what they warned you. That's hearsay.
Yes, ma'am. The problem, Your Honor, before my truck was hit, 5 weeks in a row, when I came home from work, my trash can was knocked over. I came home one day, I picked my trash can up. My neighbor, Mrs. Moten, came home and turned my trash can over again. I asked her why she turned my trash can over for the last 5 weeks. She said it was in her way. On Sunday, October the 28th, I had been outside in the front working on a home project. The defendant came home. We had a few words.
What did you say to her, and what did she say to you?
The defendant came home that day, and she said that I had some chairs on the fence. She asked me to move them. I went around back. I moved the chairs off the fence. When I came back, I was standing there looking out of the front door. My neighbor, Mrs. Moten, got in her car. She was backing out. She got close to my truck. She didn't hit it. She pulled forward.
Well, that's the same day. You said that was on the 28th or the 30th?
On the 30th.
And Ms. Moten, you say you did not do that?
Yes, that is correct.
But, Mr. Massey, you say you have a video that shows that she did.
Yes, ma'am, I do.
I'd like to see it. Did you know he had a video, Miss Moulton?
From the officer indicated he had a video that around about 9:30 when the officer came to my home.
That is you getting into your car, is it not, Miss Moulton?
Yes, it is.
Are you watching that very carefully, Byrd?
Yes, I am.
Did you see the car hit it?
I really can't say, Judge.
Could we do it again, please?
I can show you, Your Honor, right when the car hit.
I would like you to do that, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Right here, Your Honor, she hits my truck. Her mirror, you can see her mirror go under my mirror, and it hits my truck. I have some pictures of the damage of her car.
Can I see it, please?
And the damage of my car.
Can I see it, please?
Yes, sir. This is an existing scratch on my truck. These are pictures of the damage that she done to my car. And this is where her mirror scraped my truck.
Says this line is an existing scratch already on his truck, and the rest is where that line.
This
up
line.
There, that line up there is where.
Put on her mirror.
Right.
Show the camera, please. Miss Moulton, what I don't understand is, why did you pull forward again? You were clear of his car.
Oh, I put forward because I was trying to make sure I didn't hit his vehicle.
Miss Moulton, you were practically clear of his vehicle, and then you pulled forward and you steered right into it.
But that's what it looked like. But
well, that's what it
way,
looked like.
right.
My eyes weren't deceiving me. That's what it looked like.
Judge Judy, when I poured, we have parking spaces pretty tight over there where I am. So when I pulled out, I was pulling out and doing the best that I could to prevent from hitting his vehicle. I still say that I did not strike his vehicle.
You did.
Okay.
You did. But I don't understand why you were pulling out and you were practically clear of it.
Well, I pulled
and then
out
you pulled back. You pulled forward again. And you came that close to his car the second time. I don't understand that.
Well, I understand it because I was pulling out from my observation of it as far as me backing out. I was backing out to keep from, because you, from looking at the video.
Play that again for me, please. I want to look at it one more time. Is that a possibility?
Yeah, looking at the video, it does look that way, but as far as the way the
video doesn't lie, Miss Moulton.
Well, I'm not saying the video is lying. I'm just saying I didn't strike his vehicle. I didn't do that.
You did.
See, my damage was on my car. That damage she's saying I put has been there on my vehicle.
Okay, now, you're clear.
From that, it looks clear, but
you were clear the first time you pulled out. You were clear. Then you come back and you go right into his car.
Well, it looks like I went into his car, but
it looks exactly like you went into his car, madam, and that's what you did. Can I please see the estimate to have it fixed?
Yes, ma'am. I have two estimates, Your Honor.
Well, how much was the cheapest estimate?
$627, if I'm not mistaken. And I have a rental car reimbursement should be in that stack also.
Well, I'm not paying you for a rental car, sir. Are you his wife?
Girlfriend.
Girlfriend. Do you live together?
Yes, ma'am.
You have a car?
Yes, ma'am.
Drive him around for a day while he has this car fixed. Listen, life is very, very short. You're going to be neighbors for a while. I'm going to suggest that you can either be miserable for the next 20 years or happy for the next 20 years. Unfortunately, you have a very tight driveway. Maybe you can get together and say, listen, I'm going to go into my lawn a little bit and take another foot, make cement out of it, and on the other side we'll do the same thing so we have a little bit more latitude getting in and out. Can you do that?
Well, it has already been done as far as on his side. The previous owners did do that.
Well, what about on your
owners.
side? Well, what about on your side?
Well, I can't do anything because I'm between two people. I have someone to my left and someone to my right.
Your Honor, if I may, okay. The problem that we've had with her is she chooses to park directly beside our car when she has enough room to park further over in her space.
What I'm telling you is you can either have continued problems with each other or you can try to resolve it. Do you work?
Yes, I do.
What kind of work do you do?
Teacher assistant.
And you?
Work for the military now.
So what I'm going to suggest is that you devote more energy to the work that you do and less negative energy to the 2 or 3 inches that it would take to alleviate this problem.
Thank you very much.
No. It's not his problem. You hit his car. Madam, you hit his car.
I don't agree with that, but I
don't care whether... Put your hands down, sir. I don't care whether you agree or not.
I understand.
That's why you're here. You're
That's
here.
correct.
I have a video, so what you want me to say is he was mistaken, the pictures are mistaken, and the video is mistaken, and you're right. And I'm telling you that you hit his car, and maybe if you were a little more flexible, maybe both of you, you could avoid a situation that makes it unpleasant every day. A little more flexible. Pull your car over a little bit more so that you don't have to be right next to each other. And if you don't want to do that, then what's going to happen is you're going to continue to be miserable. I, on the other hand, am not going to be miserable. You have your judgment, sir, in the amount of $627. If she hits your car again, you're going to get another judgment against her. I assume that you both have other things to do to keep yourself busy. What do you want?
I was in an accident, and that particular damage was
you
done
hit
on here.
his car. I saw it with my own eyes.
Well, I disagree, Judge Sheindlin.
I don't care
I
whether you disagree or not. You pulled out of your driveway. You were clear of his car. You pulled back into your driveway.
What I'm saying to you,
your car veered right into his.
What I'm saying to you, Judge
listen,
Sheindlin,
I'm not interested in what you're saying
that
to me,
damage
madam.
was on my car prior to
listen
him
to me.
stating that.
I don't
That's
hear
what
a
I'm
word
saying
that
to
you're
you.
saying because when
I
I
understand
speak,
that.
I don't hear people that are trying to talk
that.
over me.
I'm not trying
because
to.
I am the boss here.
I
You may be
understand
the
that.
boss in your schoolroom. I am the boss here. And if you're going to be thick like this table, then you're going to spend the next 10 years while they're living next door to you being unhappy. And what I'm saying to you is, move your car over. That's all. Step out.
Monica Roth says former friend Justin Judy backed her car into another vehicle. Justin claims it was a drunken Monica who was behind the wheel.
Ms. Roth, it is your claim that you were at a party, the defendant was at a party. He moved your car, and he did so without asking you, and he dented it. The defendant says that it was you who were drunk, moved your own car, and dented it yourself. That's your defense, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Was this party at your house?
Yes, it was, ma'am.
How many people did you have at the party?
20, 25.
How old are you?
I'm 20, going on 22, 21 right now.
Well, hopefully if I let you, you'll be 22. Right now you're 21. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Who do you live with?
I live with my witness here and another person.
So you have 2 roommates?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm in construction.
What night of the week was this?
I think it was a Friday night Friday night.
Okay. And did you know Miss Roth before your party?
Yes, I did.
All right, Miss Roth, were you present when the defendant got into your car?
No, I was not. I was inside.
Who was?
My witness, Tita, was in the car.
Tell me your name.
Tita Chewin.
Miss Chewin, did you know the defendant prior to this evening?
Yes, Your Honor.
Was there drinking at the party?
Yes.
Any drugs at the party?
No.
None that you saw?
Not that I saw.
But drinking?
Yes.
All right, tell me what happened with the car.
We went outside to...
Who's we?
The 3 of us. We went outside to grab CDs, and it was a summer night, so we had tank tops on and skirts, and we wanted to grab shirts to put over. So we went out to the car. She grabbed her CDs. I grabbed my shirt. I put it on. She went back inside the house, and she left the keys for me. So I was in the passenger seat getting ready to leave, and he claims the truck in front of him needed to be moved. So he hopped in, and I told him, Monica.
Okay, he said that the car that you were in had to be moved?
Yes.
Okay.
The car was on accessories, but the engine wasn't on. He started it and...
Don't speak!
He started it and slammed on the gas without even looking behind him. And before he started the car, I told him, Monica would not want you driving her car. It's brand new. She doesn't even let us drive her car. I've known her since elementary school. We're really close. And he just slammed on the gas without even looking behind him, and I told him, don't you want to look behind you? And next thing I know, there's a big crash, and he jumps out of the car.
Did he say anything to you?
No, he just jumped out.
Did he put the car in park and jump out? Did he turn it
off?
off?
He pulled it up really quick so she wouldn't know, and then jumped out of the car.
So first he went backwards.
Yep, and then he pulled it up.
So he changed gears?
Yes.
I just want you to go step by step with me. So let's go step by step. First, it was in reverse.
Yep, and he slammed on the gas, hit the car, was like startled, and then he pulled it up back to where she had been parked, so it looked like her car wasn't moved. and hopped out of the car really quick.
And didn't say anything to you?
No.
So what did you do?
I was in shock, and then she came in, ran up to the window because she was across the street.
Tell me your name.
Keely Hartman.
Ms. Hartman, did you witness this?
I just heard a crash. I didn't see it actually happen.
But you heard the sound?
I heard the sound.
Did you see the defendant?
I saw someone running away from the car, and that's when I ran over immediately because I saw it was Monica's car.
But you didn't see who it was?
I didn't.
Didn't see a face, or you didn't see whether it was a man, woman?
I saw a shadow running from the car.
Okay. Did the defendant say anything to you when you went back inside?
I peeked inside the window of the driver's side door, and I saw her in the passenger seat, and I looked and I saw nobody in the driver's seat, and I go, where's Monica? And she just said she's in the house. That's when I looked over and I saw Justin crouching over by the bumper, and he said to me, don't tell her it's not a big deal, it's not even noticeable. And that's when I ran inside and grabbed Monica.
Okay, so he said to you, don't tell her it's not a big deal, it's not even noticeable.
Yes.
How long have you known the defendant?
A couple years.
Have had any problem with him?
No.
You like him?
Do I like him?
Yeah, I mean, like him as a person. He's okay, isn't he?
Yeah.
What about you?
Before this incident, I thought he was great.
Thought he was great. Never had any problem with
Nope.
him. Thank you. You can be seated.
Thank you.
Yes. It's your turn. Did you get a turn?
All those girls are lying.
Stop!
They were-
Listen to me. Listen to me very, very carefully, sir. I make a judgment as to who's lying.
Okay.
You have the opportunity, if you wish, to explain to me your version of the events that evening.
Okay.
I assume you brought this gentleman because he has something to contribute to this case.
Yes, I did, ma'am.
Your name is?
James.
James, you have a last name.
Johnson.
How old are you?
22.
Do you have parents?
Yes.
Do they like you?
Sometimes.
I want you to think about them when making a decision to testify, James.
Yes.
Do you understand what I'm saying to you?
Yes.
Okay. Let me hear.
Okay, in my defense. July 9th, we were having these girls showed up to my house intoxicated. Had parked her car behind a truck of my friend's, asked her to move it. She moved it, backed into the car that was behind her, which was the black one.
And you saw all this?
Yeah, I was out in the street telling everybody was about ready to leave. The whole part, you know, it
And
was
you
like,
saw all of this?
yeah, I saw the whole thing.
Go ahead.
I was in the street talking to a bunch of friends, and you know, that happened, that transpired. And then she decided to leave belligerently, circle the block, and then come back, screaming, raving, whatever. She was intoxicated and all that stuff.
So you had a party at your house. Did you serve alcohol?
No,
or did the
not to
people
them.
bring out? Shh. Did you serve alcohol or did the people bring alcohol?
They brought their own.
You just provided the site.
Yes, I just presided the area for people to party. But everybody at my house was 21 minus these 3 girls.
You mean I just happened to be fortunate enough to pick the 3 girls who were underage at your house?
Yes, ma'am. But they were intoxicated before they showed up to my house.
You want to speak?
Sure.
Who do you live with?
Justin, Judy, and another roommate.
So you lived together. And how long have you lived together?
For about a year and a half.
You know these 3 girls?
I know them from being at my house that night. I'd never even known them before.
What time did the party start?
Between 9 and 10 o'clock.
When did you start drinking?
Between 9 and 10 o'clock.
What were you drinking?
Beer.
What time did these girls arrive?
I'm not totally sure on that. I actually did not see them arrive. I didn't see them arrive. I didn't know they were there until well after they were there.
And what time was that?
Between 10 and 11 o'clock.
So the party was only going on for an hour?
Possibly.
What do you mean possibly?
I'm not sure. It was.
How many beers did you have between 9 and 10 o'clock?
Couple.
Couple could be 2 or 5.
Between 2 and 5.
What kind of work do you do?
Construction.
You work for the same place?
No. I install windows in residential housing. He seals driveways.
Seals them. Doesn't steal them. He seals them.
Yes.
So now, I want you to tell me what you saw.
Okay, I was...
No!
Sorry. I was at the party, and I was walking out.
What time?
It was late. I don't know.
Give me an idea.
Probably between 12 and 1.
Okay, so between 12 and 1. So let's say between 9 and 10 you had between 2 and 5 beers.
Yes.
And I would assume that once you had between 2 and 5, you lost track.
Nah, I didn't finish my 12-pack.
How much was left over?
2 or 3.
So maybe you had 10 beers.
Yeah, probably.
So now tell me what happened after midnight.
Well, after I came outside, I had seen Monica get in the car, back up, and bump into the other car. And it wasn't that big of an accident, so I nobody really made a big deal out of it. And I seen her get out of the car, have a little conversation with him, and then I seen her get back in the car and drive away. It didn't happen all that quick, but that's the sum of it. Yes.
You may be seated.
Thank you.
Don't you feel like a jerk? Let me see the estimate on the car, please. A picture of the car?
Yep.
What kind of a car did he hit?
Cougar. It was a black car, that's all.
Cougar?
I'm pretty sure it was a Mercury Cougar.
You know who it belonged to?
It was this kid, Jeremy, and he didn't even tell him that he hit his car.
But did you tell him?
He came out, and I think Keely or someone told him. I wasn't.
Who told the Cougar that his car got hit? Anybody?
I didn't. Well,
Nobody told him.
I don't think I didn't tell him. He heard from the people inside that someone's car had been hit, so he ran outside and saw that it was his car and was furious with Justin.
Is the Cougar man a friend of yours?
Yes, he's a very good friend of mine, actually.
How come he's not here? How come he's not here? Is he overseas? Is he fighting in the military?
No. He couldn't make it.
Couldn't make it.
No.
Too bad for you. He's a very good friend of yours. Seemed to me a very good friend. Instead of bringing this one over here, I certainly would have brought the person whose car... I'm speaking. I would have brought the person whose car was hit to testify that they know that it wasn't you who hit their car, it was somebody else who hit their car. Put your hand down.
He's the only one that saw it, though. The guy who owned the car did not see
You see how many
anything.
witnesses they have here, too? You see what you have on your side? Stop shaking your foot. It's making me nervous.
The guy whose car that she hit was not around and did not see it, did not know it happened until later in the night.
Your Honor, I have phone calls from Justin saying he will pay me the money and that he's so sorry that he did it, and he is doing everything he can to get me my money. And he just wants to pay cash, and he doesn't want to go to court.
You have them here?
Yes, I have.
Oh, I'd like to
I can
hear
call
that.
my voicemail.
Oh, sure, I'd like to hear that.
Yeah, please. It's her phone. She's gonna. There's two of them.
Ooh, I love to be right.
You've pressed an incorrect key. To disconnect, press 1. To record your message, press 2. Sorry you were having trouble. Please try again.
It's okay.
Can I try one more time?
Yes, of course.
Thank you.
I have all the time in the world.
Sorry.
Oh, just a sec. Before you do that, before we connect, you want to say anything else to me, Justin?
Like what?
Like I may have made that
I did that
phone
to
call?
help her out because it was
I'm
on my
speaking.
property.
I'm speaking. Is there anything else that you want to say to me before we try to connect with this phone call?
I've said what I've had to say.
All right.
You've got my defense statement, so I'm sticking with that. That's what it is.
Go.
First saved message sent Friday, August 20 a.m.
Monica, it's Justin. I got your text message. I'm not trying to avoid you. I've been busy working a lot. We're really busy right now. Plus, I have another job. I'm trying to work as much as possible to get you your money. I do want to
that out of
work
helping.
so hard. I don't want to take this shit to court. I'm not trying to avoid you. So, I don't know. I got to work till midnight tonight. Give me a call whenever.
And
I have one more.
Resave. The next message sent Friday, August 5th at 9:11 p.m.
Monica, I'm calling you again because I'm trying to set up some sort of payment plan with you because I've been working a lot. I have 2 jobs. And yeah, so call me back and let me know what's up. I don't want to take the court. I'd rather pay you in cash and get it dealt with. Call me back.
End.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $967.53. That is for the repair on the car, damage to the vehicle. If I could add another couple of thousand to that for just being 2 wise guys, I would. You're an embarrassment, and you're an embarrassment to yourself and your parents. That's all.
Ted Kelly is suing his granddaughter's friend, 18-year-old Nicholas Rundy, for crashing his car while driving intoxicated. Nicholas says the accident wasn't his fault.
Mr. Kelly, this is your
Granddaughter.
And you own a car?
Yes.
You let your granddaughter use the car?
Yes.
What kind of car is it?
It's a 2002 Pontiac Grand Am.
You're a very, very good grandpa.
Yeah, I try to be.
How many grandchildren do you have?
4.
Is this the oldest?
Yes.
You don't play favorites, do you?
Try not to.
Try not. I know. Well, Mr. Rundy over here wrecked your car. And he says, it's not my fault. Somebody else's fault.
Yes, ma'am.
When did you wreck Mr. Kelly's car?
April 4th, I do believe.
At what time of the day or evening did you wreck his car?
Around 10 o'clock at night.
Where had you been earlier that evening?
Over at Alicia's house.
How many people were at Alicia's house?
Her, myself, Philip, and 2 of my friends.
So 1 girl.
1 girl.
And 4 boys.
4 boys.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Ted Kelly claims his granddaughter's friend, 18-year-old Nicholas Rundy, wrecked his car during a night of drinking. Nicholas says Ted's granddaughter is also to blame.
Now, how old is Alicia?
18.
And who does she live with?
By herself.
By herself?
Mm-hmm.
What time did you get there?
8 o'clock probably. She called Philip's cell phone to have us come over just to hang out.
Don't offer me any information that I didn't ask for, Mr. Rundy.
Yes, ma'am.
I'll get all the information I need. At what time did you take Mr. Kelly's car?
9:30 or so.
How much had you been drinking?
A couple glasses of mixed drink.
Of what?
Rum, I do believe.
Who mixed them?
We did.
Who's we?
Me and Philip and everybody. They were pouring our own drinks.
Who mixed your drink?
Me.
And who mixed your second drink?
Myself.
And if you had a third drink, who would have mixed your third drink?
Myself.
Where did you get the mixers from?
We didn't have any mixers. We were just pouring them from the bottle.
Well, then that's not a mixed drink, unless you were mixing scotch and rye, and you weren't mixing alcohol, were you?
No.
Because that would have been really dumb.
Right.
So were you having straight drinks or mixed drinks?
Straight drinks.
So you had a few straight drinks, and you took the car about 9 o'clock at night. Who was in the car with you when you took it?
Philip.
And at what point did the car get wrecked?
Around 9:45, I do believe.
Did you receive any sort of citation that day from the police department?
No, ma'am.
Did the police arrive at the scene?
Yes.
Did they give you a breathalyzer test?
No.
Did they take you to a hospital?
No, they just questioned me about the car and arrested me for public intoxication.
So you didn't get a citation, you got arrested.
Yeah.
So if you got arrested for public intoxication, you must have been really drunk.
Yes, ma'am.
And you were driving.
Yes, ma'am.
Who do you live with?
My father now.
Did your mother throw you out?
No, I had to move.
Why?
Wasn't doing the right thing in Indiana.
Is that where your mother lives?
Yes, ma'am.
So your mother had enough of you moved to?
Cocoa Beach, Florida.
Who does your father live with?
Himself and me and my brother.
And what are you doing in Florida now?
About to go to school and just looking
So
for a job
right now you're doing nothing?
Yeah.
About to go to school, about to get a job, right now you're doing nothing?
Yeah, I just moved down there.
Now, Mr. Rundy, you are going to explain to me, sir, why this accident was not your fault. Or please pay careful attention, because in case I missed something, I really want somebody to give me a poke to be able to say, you missed it, you know, you missed the important part.
I'm here for you.
Thank you.
All right.
We're both all ears, Mr. Rundy.
I'm not trying to say that it's not my fault.
Well, that's what you said in the answer. You said, let me tell you what you said in the answer, Mr. Rundy.
Okay.
Which caused me to do this torturing routine that I did for the last 5 minutes.
Right.
Alicia, the other 18-year-old idiot who was drinking that night with 4 guys, she's the reason why I had to go to jail. That's what you wrote here.
I didn't.
And had to take classes for first-time offenders. Did you have to take classes for
Yes,
first-time
I did.
offenders? I was surprised to learn that Mr. Kelly is suing me. Alicia should pay her grandfather for the money he is asking. Mr. Kelly is suing the wrong person. That's what you wrote. So now what you're telling me is that was all a big mistake?
No, it's not a big mistake. I feel she should have some responsibility in her car. I know what I did was wrong, and I know that, but...
She wasn't in the car.
She gave me the keys to her car, though.
Yeah.
So where's the responsibility come in at?
How much do you weigh?
180.
You think that she could carry you, put you in the car, take your hand, put the key in the ignition,
I have no
turn
idea.
it on? You don't think she could do that, do you?
No.
Only you could do that, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you're the one who poured your own alcohol.
Yes, ma'am.
You're the one who put the glass to your lips and guzzled it down.
Yes, ma'am.
You're the one that took you behind and put it behind the wheel of a car where you could have killed somebody.
Yes, ma'am.
And you're the one who's going to pay for Mr. Kelly's. Mr. Kelly, were you able to have the car fixed?
Yes, I was.
And how much did it cost you, Mr. Kelly?
Over $5,000.
You have the bill for it?
Yes.
Can I see it, please? Mr. Kelly, your granddaughter, Alicia, I must tell you, I believe, did not act responsibly that evening. That doesn't mean that he's off the hook. That just means that if I were you, I wouldn't give her back the car.
I'm sorry.
Did you give her back the car?
Yes, after I got it fixed.
That was a big mistake. I wouldn't have given her back the car. She behaved irresponsibly. You understand that, don't you?
Yes.
Taking advantage of your grandfather. I wouldn't let you take advantage of me. I'll tell you that right now. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. Mr. Rundy, you better get busy and get back to Florida. Hurry up, hustle, get a job. Hustle, hustle, bustle.
All right.
That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Wanda Byrd is suing her neighbor, Juanita Gracia, for the cost to fix her car and for vandalism to her home. Wanda says the culprit is Juanita's son, 14-year-old Alberto Lopez.
You may be seated. Gentlemen, have a seat, please.
Oh, no.
Gentlemen, stand up, please. No, you sit.
Sit down. All right, Miss Burr, this is your son. Miss Garcia, this is your son. Neither of you were present on the day that Miss Garcia's son was in the driver's seat of your car and caused damage to it.
That's correct.
And that's what this lawsuit is about. You believe that Miss Garcia is responsible for her son's actions and should pay for the damage to your car. Miss Garcia says that it wasn't her son's fault, that your son was there the whole time, and if you want to hold somebody responsible, you should hold your son responsible. Right? Right. Okay. What's your first name?
Casey McDavid.
I want you to keep the voice up. Are you frightened here today?
No, ma'am.
You a little nervous?
No, ma'am.
I'm going to change that. On what day were you in your mother's car?
He was not in the vehicle, Your Honor.
Where were you?
Me and my friends were on the computer, and I went to the bathroom. I came out. He took the keys off my door, and I seen the car go past the window, and I went out, and I seen him hit the tree.
You saw him.
I seen him get in my car.
Where were the keys?
They were on the door.
Of what room?
Of the front door.
And where's your computer?
In the living room.
The computer's next to the phone. Sorry.
Were you there?
No, ma'am.
Keep your mouth closed. So you were on the computer in the living room.
Yes, ma'am.
And where were your friends?
They were on the computer with me.
How many friends?
3.
Who are they?
Alberto, Brandon, and Dwayne.
What's Brandon's last name?
I don't know.
What's Dwayne's last name? Is he still your friend?
No, ma'am.
Why not?
I haven't talked to him
Since when?
since the accident.
And what about Brandon? Have you spoken to him?
No, ma'am.
Why haven't you spoken to them since the accident, Casey?
Ever since the accident, I just lost touch.
Why? They were in the room with you on the computer, right?
Right.
They weren't near the car, so why would you stop being their friend?
I just haven't talked to him in a while.
Okay, now let me hear your version of what happened.
Me, Brendan, and Dwayne were sitting on the living room couch. I was next to Casey looking on the computer with him. Me and Brendan discussed getting in the car and listening to the music, and the keys were on the desk of the computer, not hanging. I took the keys in front of Casey. He didn't say anything. Me and Brendan went into the car, started the car.
Brendan, too?
Brendan was in the car. We started the car and started listening to music. I switched gears in the car in reverse. Casey came out and just stood there and watched us.
Casey came out?
Yes, ma'am.
And what did he say to you?
I don't know if he said anything, but he just stood there watching us. And I backed the car, and I guess...
Why did you do that?
I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know?
I don't know. He's taken the car out before. It's not like it was the first time he's done it.
He didn't do anything.
Well, that we've done it, he's let us drive before. And I started backing up the car. I was gonna go anywhere, and then Brendan got scared and opened the passenger door and jumped out, and that's when the door hit the tree. I stopped the car and moved it back forward, and we noticed the damages to the car.
Alberto, so whose fault is this?
Mine.
Perfect. Why didn't you convince your mother of that?
When his mother found out, we all discussed together that we will each take responsibility for it.
Who's each?
Me, Brendan, and Casey. Because
Well, it's not, just a second. Not Casey's fault. You took the keys. You didn't have permission to take the keys? Brandon, maybe. He was with you, but he didn't drive it. You did. Why is it anybody else's fault but yours?
They didn't stop me.
So let's say you're walking down the street with your mother and you see somebody that you went to school with that you don't like, and you walk past them and you say to your mother, I'm going to punch him in the face. You walk past him, you punch him in the face. It's fault?
No, ma'am.
Why? She didn't stop you. She didn't stop you. You get it?
Yes, ma'am.
You have anything to say to me, Miss Garcia?
Yeah. The reason I felt that it wasn't all our fault, his fault, was because all three parties were involved. Casey is older than my child. The key was in his house.
Just a second. How much older is he?
2 years older than him.
So what?
No, but he had possession of the keys.
No, he didn't. He didn't have possession of the keys.
They've done.
If he had the keys in his pocket.
No, Judge.
Hey, listen to me. If he had the keys in his pocket, and he took the keys out of his pocket and handed them to your son, then he had control of the keys. Your son didn't ask permission. It's like he stole the keys. And what he's saying is, well, nobody stopped me. I mean, you mean if he walked out with the silver, nobody stopped him, he could have the silver? If you saw the family jewels, and he said, I'm going to take those. And he said, well, I took them, but nobody stopped me. So why can't I have those? He stole the keys, and he went outside. And he was in the car already.
Yes, sir.
All right. How much damage did you have to your car?
I also have another incident, Your Honor, where my new truck was keyed, and I saw Alberto running from my carport that evening, and I have a police report on it as well. And there have been other instances. Burnt screens, lawn bags that I've bagged up have been scattered over my yard the next morning. Graffiti on the side of my house.
Listen to me, Mr. Garcia. What do you want to say? It wasn't you, right?
The police report didn't even say that. When we was there with the cops, she said that her daughter came out of the house and said that she may have saw the back of my head.
Listen to me, sir. What I'm going to say to you is, only you and I know whether or not you were involved in any of these shenanigans that's taken place in the Burr home since this incident. Unfortunately, Miss Byrd knows that she has insufficient proof of what's been going on, this little vandalism and prank stuff, because I'm sure that Brandon is involved, which is why he doesn't see him anymore. I don't know about Dwayne. Dwayne was in the house. Why don't you see him anymore?
I don't know.
So you didn't tell me the whole story. You didn't tell your mother the whole story. He didn't tell you the whole story, Miss Burr. Not the whole story, but he's not responsible. You are. And if you've been fooling around with Miss Burr's property, it better stop. Because now 10 million people know that you are potentially a suspect. So there are going to be lots of eyes on you, including the police. Do we understand each other?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. What's the estimate to fix your car?
One is for $1,608, the other one's for $1,733, and the third one, $1,840.
Can I see pictures of the car, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, that's not $3,000, $1,608. Where did you learn your math?
Also for the keying of my truck.
I already told you that you have no proof of that. Okay. He did it. You weren't paying attention. Oh, you're lucky that this damage is only $1,608, that she can have it fixed for that. That's pretty nasty damage, sir. How old are you?
14.
Ever been in any trouble before?
No, ma'am.
Great. Don't get into trouble again. Your mother looks like a very nice lady. She doesn't need trouble from you.
No, she doesn't.
Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $1,608. Thank you.
Parties are excused when they step out.
Geraldine Brady says her daughter and son-in-law, Cassie and Cliff Yelvington, falsely accused her of abusing their daughter. The defendants are countersuing for charges filed by Geraldine.
Miss Brady, this young lady is your daughter.
Yes, ma'am.
And this is your husband.
Yes, sir.
According to your complaint, some time ago, your daughter and her husband had a small baby. That baby was removed from their custody by the state because of abuse, and the baby was placed in your custody.
Yes, ma'am.
You had her for approximately a year?
20 months, Your Honor.
And after 20 months, there was a reunification process, and she was ultimately returned to her parents.
Yes, Your Honor.
You now have that child and another child.
Yes, ma'am.
Your complaint is that there came a point where your daughter and son-in-law made some false allegations about you, which required you, because you have a teaching position, to retain an attorney in order to dispute those allegations. And you want them to pay for that attorney and for the emotional distress that you went through from something. Your daughter and her husband say that there came a point when they were concerned over something that their daughter had told them when you were visiting with her, and they had every right to report that. And they are counterclaiming because they say that you have embarked upon a course of trying to interfere with the reunification process by making allegations against the Child Protective Services. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. When was the child originally removed from your custody?
January 13th of 2005.
How old was she?
She was approximately 3 months old.
And what was the nature of the abuse that she suffered at 3 months old?
Some people that we thought were friends, and their youngest daughter was going through and put bite marks on our child.
Over what period of time?
A week or two.
You pled guilty to abuse or neglect?
Neglect.
And you understand that you neglected her?
Yes.
As did you?
I wasn't there. I was at work. I was working out of town for the period that this had happened.
The entire time?
It had happened within a week. I was out of town for the whole week.
Now, when the child was with you, did the parents visit?
Yes, ma'am.
At your house?
Initially, they had supervised visitation at my house, and due to the deteriorating situation, I asked for their visitation to be moved to a visitor center.
Well, that's part of their counterclaim, that if you hadn't forced the visitation to be at a visitation center, they might have been reunified with their child earlier. So I would like you to tell me, Ms. Brady, what caused you to report this deteriorating situation?
They were coming over to my house, and I was allowing them wide open visitation. They could come, sit comfortably. I fed them. I permitted them to have any length of visitation they wanted. That was approximately June of 2005. Cliff went into court and claimed that he was paying child support to me, and I had not received any child support from them whatsoever. Also, when they came, they were bringing some people over with them. I didn't mind his family members, immediate family members, like his sisters and Kaylee's little cousins, but they started bringing strangers over.
Who would you bring over to the house?
My cousin.
Why would you do that?
We checked with her first. We told her that we were going to bring over my niece and my cousin, and she
Why
said
would
she
you
didn't
bring
have a problem.
anybody?
Because she would not come over down to Orlando so that my family could see my daughter, and my family wanted to see my daughter because they hadn't seen her since she was born.
Just a minute. What does that have to do with little cousins?
It's not. She was like 13 years old.
So what? This is for you and your wife. Visitation is for you and your wife. How many cousins did you bring to the visitor center?
We didn't take anybody to the visitation center because it was done during the week whenever everybody was working.
Right. So Miss Brady was taking care of business that you should have been taking care of, and if she said to you, don't bring people.
She never told me not to bring people.
Did you tell him not to bring people?
No.
Well, how was she supposed to be a mind reader?
Well, I did object to one person's presence. He was supposedly a friend of Brandy's, his older sister, and I did object to it to Cassie.
And what did she say?
She just shrugged her shoulders and made an excuse.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So you got tired of all these people in your house?
Yes.
So you asked that the visitation be at someplace else?
Yes.
Were you going to visitation every weekend with your daughter?
At the center, it wasn't on the weekend. It was only during
At your mother's house?
We were going there about 3-4 days a week.
So that was great.
Mm-hmm.
That was great.
Yes.
Should have kept it simple.
We didn't know that there was a problem until she sprung it on us at the last minute, saying that there's visitation at the center now instead of at her house.
Okay. Should have been smart enough to figure it out.
If she would have came up to us and said, hey, I have a problem with some of the stuff that's going on, we would have done what we could to correct it.
Mr. Yeldington, you may be right. She probably should have said something to you before she moved it, but that's not a legitimate lawsuit. You should have been smart enough to keep it simple. Go with your wife, sit with your wife, with your 3-month-old daughter, bond with her, spend as much time with her as you can, and not involve the rest of your family. That's just not smart to do. Could she have told you? Absolutely. Is that a lawsuit? Absolutely not. Now, the child was ultimately reunified when?
September the 15th, 2006.
Tell me what happened after September the 15th.
Well, there was one visit that I went to pick her up at. Josh, my grandson, went to pick her up. I had visitation with her every other weekend. And I noticed there was like a mark on the side of her face. Well, when I got her home, it looked like a full-blown handprint on the left side of her face.
Josh, just stand up, please. Josh, you went to pick the baby up.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you see any mark on her face?
Yes, ma'am.
Describe it to me.
It was marks on her face, and there was like some bruising right here.
Did you ask her what happened?
No, ma'am.
Did you?
She wasn't that verbal at that time.
Okay, fine. Do you remember what month this was?
September 2006, towards the end.
So you reported it?
Yes, I did, to the caseworker, and I took pictures.
You have pictures?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to see them, please.
Here's the originals.
Very hard to see any mark.
Right.
Oh, I see the bruise in the middle of her lip. That I
Right.
do see.
Yeah, that was on a separate occasion.
And then in October of 2006, I see a large black and blue mark on her forehead.
That's it.
Okay. You did the very wise thing and the right thing to notify the caseworker. You understand that, don't you?
Yes, I'm trying to recall on what these marks were.
Yeah, because we were never notified by the department that there was any marks on her.
Or by my
Well,
mother.
but you do understand that being a responsible person, knowing the history of this child.
Yes, ma'am. But what I'm saying is, if there was a allegation made to the department, I think the department would have, at least done an investigation on it. There was
The
no
department
investigation done.
should have done an investigation on it.
Yes, ma'am.
Whether they did or not is another story. No question about that. Okay, what happened next, Miss Brady?
In January of 2007, I had picked up Kaylee from their home, and when I was giving her a shower, I noticed what appeared to be like burn marks, like in a circle on her butt. And I did call DCF. The DCF investigator did tell me, take her to the hospital, have her examined by the hospital.
And did you do that?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have a report from the hospital?
No.
Because you're not the parent.
Right, and I didn't have custody of her at that time.
You have a report from the hospital on this incident?
We do not have it. We gave the copy to our caseworker because we were notified of the allegation. And the moment I was notified, I took my daughter down to the hospital, had her examined, and then also told them to call up the sheriff's department and told them I want to do everything by the book because this allegation is ridiculous.
Did you get a report when Miss Brady took her to the hospital?
Not from the hospital, but I do have the report with the department.
I'd like to read it. Are you trying to toilet train your child?
Yes, Your Honor.
Does your daughter have a psychiatric history?
No. After this point, I think she should.
Well, it is clear to me that based upon this, somebody observed marks and thighs that were clearly visible 2 days after your mother-in-law took the child to the hospital.
That right there would be the allegation that Miss Brady put against us
No,
for
no,
my
no,
daughter.
no, my dear.
Because our caseworker...
Kaylee has excoriated red marks on her buttocks and thigh. That's an observation, sir. That is not Miss Brady's observation. That's an observation either by a physician at the emergency room or the caseworker. It says, describes them. They're on her thighs. They're about 2 inches long. The marks on her lower buttocks looks like they may have been from sitting on the toilet for a long period of time.
Which she was not. And the doctors that we took her to and the investigators and everybody told us that they
Don't tell me what anybody told you. Show me a report. This is the only report that I have.
As far as her sitting on the potty for too long, she liked to play on the potty and try to be a big girl, and she would sit there herself. We didn't force her to stay there. And the marks on her thigh were chafing from her diaper because we went for a walk that morning before my mother picked her up.
You also had an excuse for the bite mark she suffered on her body. You claimed that that was not your fault. It is your fault. Whether you did the biting or you permitted this child to be, for over a week's period of time, bitten by another child, that's your fault. And just because a 2-year-old wants to sit on the toilet for a long time doesn't mean that a parent who is exercising parental responsibility allows a child to do that to such an extent that the child has welts on her bottom. Child should not have marks on their thighs from chafing from a diaper if all you have to do is take care of her, which is what the two of you have to do. Take care of her. So far, Miss Brady, you did everything right.
Thank you.
Now, would you please tell me why you were forced to hire a lawyer?
Well, throughout this 20 months, they've made numerous allegations
Uncross your arms.
Against me, but then they made a very serious allegation against me July 26, 2006. And I think it was in retaliation because things didn't go very well for them in court.
What do you mean things didn't go?
I guess that day, I guess they were expecting to be reunited with their child that day in court, and it didn't come about. And I also was badgering them about the child support that they owed me. And we had left court, I had gone, and then next thing I know, I'm getting a call from the caseworker to take Kaylee to a hospital or a doctor immediately for a sexual exam because the allegation had come from Cassie or Cliff.
That said what?
That said they felt that the child had been sexually abused while she was in my care.
Really?
And this really was...
What made you think that?
She would shy away from men. She would not go near them. Like if I would go to pick her up, and I mean, whenever I'd walk around, she would run right up to me. And if I'd go to pick her up, she would curl up in a ball and start crying. So what I did is I told my caseworker, this is what's happening. I don't know what to think about it. I just figured I should notify you about it. And where it went from there was that they put in the abuse allegation for...
Against who?
Against her mother.
You're crazy. Something wrong with you. And you're a nasty person, too.
How am I a nasty person?
You're a nasty person because you retaliated against somebody who took on a responsibility that you and your wife couldn't take care of, which is taking care of a 3-month-old child. I assume that Miss Brady, once she raised her own children, didn't plan on nor desire to raise a 3-month-old baby. The reason she had to do that was in order to prevent your 3-month-old daughter from going into a foster care situation. Because the two of you neglected her, minimally neglected her, perhaps abused her. So she lived for 20 months. And instead of kissing her feet, which you should have done.
We tried.
You accused this teacher, this person who cleaned up after your mess, of abuse. That's why you're not a very nice person. Because I have a sense that you rule the roost in your house.
Actually,
that's my
she
sense.
does.
My sense is also that your wife could use a little psychiatric intervention. And if you don't see to it that that happens, you now have 2 children?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
It's not going to be the last time that your children are the subject of intervention by the state. So if you rule the roost in your house, and if you're not the one who's abusing your children, I suggest that you get your wife some help. How much did you spend on a lawyer?
$600.
That you pay her back. How much support did you ultimately give her for the time she took care of your daughter?
We came up to a verbal agreement that if she claimed Kaylee on the
tax
return, we would
You
not have to
didn't
pay it.
answer my question.
We
I
didn't
said
give
how
her
much?
any money because we had a verbal contract that if she claimed her on her tax return, we wouldn't have to pay child support anymore.
The child support wasn't ordered until 2006.
It doesn't have to be ordered. Does it have to be ordered for you to watch your
We
child
were-
so
no,
that
but
she doesn't get bitten?
We were giving my daughter diapers, clothes, anything that she needed.
Who
And then
cares
she
if you
comes
give
out-
somebody diapers?
Okay, and then she comes out
Who
and tells the
cares if you
courts-
give a baby diapers?
I understand that, ma'am, but then she comes out and tells the courts that she thinks that me saying I'm not going to pay for her bills, not my daughter's, hers, is unfounded because she actually came out and said she wanted this much for this much for this, and this much for this, and one of those being cable, and my 3-month-old daughter wasn't watching cable.
Mr. Yeldington, so instead of doing something, you did nothing. Exclude the cable. You didn't even protect your 3-month-old daughter.
Yes, we did. As soon as
No, you didn't, because your wife had to, of necessity, fed, bathed, and changed this baby over a week's period of time. And as soon as she saw the first bite mark on this child, that child should have been removed from the environment. She chose not to do that. And if you were in communication with your wife, and if there's not something wrong with her mentally, she would have told you that the 3-month-old child had been abused by somebody in that house. And if you were any sort of a parent, you would have come off the road and said, I don't care where we're going, we'll go to a shelter in order to protect her. Instead, you allowed this child to be abused over a week's period of time, according to your wife. And instead of kissing her feet, you made her life miserable. That's your mother. 25 years from now, you're not going to know who he is, but she will always be your mother. And you will always be able to count on her to clean up after you, not him. And if you need mental help, get it. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am, but there is one thing. I was not able to notify my husband of the marks because the people that we were staying with would not allow me to use the phone, and I had no
Crawl out. Abe Lincoln walked 10 miles to school. If your child is being abused, you leave and go to a shelter. What's wrong with you?
Where we lived, there was no shelters nearby.
Go to a police station. Where did you live? In the Yukon? Quiet. You go to a shelter. You go to a police station. You go someplace. Or you don't let your daughter out of your sight.
Yes, Your Honor.
Don't say anything.
Okay.
You both working now?
Yes.
Perfect. Your counterclaim for nonsense is dismissed. You're asking for $1,600, which includes infliction of emotional distress, which you've had, and your attorney's fees.
Yes, ma'am.
Judgment for the plaintiff, that's all. Step out.
Thank you.
Anh chấm nè.